Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know. To you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you. Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight? A long man who brings a job a fresh new point of view. Well, it's up to you. It's up to you. It's strictly up to you. And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed? It's up to you. It's up to you. It's strictly up to you. Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair? We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you'll cast your vote for Kennedy and the change that's over too. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
Welcome from my humble second bedroom here in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, part of these United States, North American continent, Western Hemisphere. On this third rock from the sun, planet Earth, the only one we have, third rock from the sun in the Terran solar system, you tried to say. This is the Kennedy Effect for April 16, 2023. Welcome. Well, how about this? It has been, well, let me start backward. New mic stand, by the way. The other one is breaking. I haven't dismantled it from the desk yet, but it's breaking. So we got a new one. We'll see how this works out, because I don't even know. I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure what I think of it so far. It is less intrusive But it is what it is, I guess. That said, I haven't a nose itch. That probably looks really good on camera. We're off to a flying start. Let me just say, welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone, as I always do. That said, this program started the same way that too many of them did, and the same way that I believe, if I remember correctly, our very first program started. In that, we had technical problems. So I think I actually started about a minute late. But I had to reboot the entire system because we were having problems. And it just takes me back to the very beginning. Before I get into the business end of the program, and I will, let me just tell you a bit of a story as I welcome folks into the chat, which I always do. Try to make quite a habit of that. So it was 4 years ago tomorrow. It's actually the 17th. Well, maybe I should go back before that. Months before we actually hit the air. Could have been actually as long as a year before we hit the air. April Riddick said, I am going to put you on the radio. From the discussions that her and I had had working on campaigns that we'd had getting to know each other, she said, you need to be back on the air, especially after, discussing our own personal histories as far as, being on the radio, being on television, reading the news, doing talk, and so on and so on. And I think that might have been as long as a year before we actually ended up on the air. But the bottom line is, she said, we're gonna do this. And even with the huge, and I do mean huge, ego that I have, and I do. Shocker. Sure, to most of you. I said, it's never going to happen, and that's going to cost money. We don't have that, and this and this and this and this. She said, nope, it's going to work. We're going to do it. I know how to get it done. And sure enough, she did. And let me fast forward just a bit to that first show. And I remember we had decided, we kind of just picked a random Sunday. We had always planned to do, like the beginning of the month or first Sunday of the month or first one after a holiday or something. And if I recall correctly, I don't think that's what we did. I think the Sunday, April 17th, 2019 was just a Sunday, if I recall correctly. And I was so nervous, properly nervous, that I made April come here, I think 3 hours before we went live on the air. And she said, I don't need to be there that early. And she told me that all week. And I made her show up anyway. I made her dinner and everything. But I was just so properly nervous. A nerves that I hadn't really had since probably since the first time I hit the air in high school. Because I had no formal training. Subsequently, after college, I went to broadcasting school, graduated flying colors, to be blunt. As bad as that sounds, like, patting me on back, but it's just the truth. Top of the class, all that. But it's probably was about as nervous as I've been since, probably since high school, probably since the first time I went on the air in high school. And I was a wreck. Sweats, nerves, stomach, dry mouth, the whole deal. And she said, first off, she came late. I think I beat her up to come here like 2, and I don't think she showed up till almost 3:30. So I was freaking out. And even then, she's like, okay, what do we have to do? We got upstairs, and upstairs meaning this second bedroom, which is not, or was not then, arranged the way it is now. And she's like, okay, what do you need to do? And I'm like, well, I think I got everything set. Just this. We turn the computer on. She's like, you're good. And we got 90 minutes to kill. So relax. And I couldn't relax. I just couldn't relax. And we booted up. We went on the air. There was no intro song. There was no nothing. I just turned the switch on and started talking. And April sat right there, close, make sure I didn't freak out. And I believe that first show, if I recall correctly, we reached, I think, a whopping maybe 1,200 people, 1,200. And we shared it. It was on Facebook only. We had no YouTube channel then. We had no Instagram. We had no TikTok. We had no, I think the LinkedIn was up. We had no Twitter. We had no Hot 101. We had no TCP. We had no, I couldn't reach the Free Speech TV Facebook page. We did not reach a hell of a lot of people. And me, Mr. Arrogance and Mr. Confidence, I thought to myself, I'll do the 4 hours. I'll be cake. I can talk straight for 4 hours. Well, I think we took our first break around 6 o'clock. I think I got maybe an hour in. And there was some real dead space in there. We did have a phone line, but of course nobody called, which is essentially still the truth. Despite my best efforts and pleas and whatnot. But it was an interesting, and hopefully everybody out there is hearing me okay. I didn't get any messages through Facebook that you can't hear me. My headset sounds very, very different with this new mic setup. But that said, I think I ended the show after 2 hours. And I struggled to get through that 2 hours. And I had a whole series of things that I wanted to talk about. I had facts and figures in my head. I had not a lot of notes in front of me. I generally don't have notes in front of me. I like to speak off the cuff. I like it to be sincere, from the heart, real, and yet still full of facts, figures, science, data, truth. And at the end of that 2 hours, April said that was awesome. That was really good. And I said it was dreadful. It was really dreadful. But that's who April is. And she just said, it was great. It was your first shot out. And let's be honest, not a lot of people listened. And she was right. If we fast forward, I think 6 weeks, I think it was, after our first show, we hit Hot 101. We officially became part of the Hot 101 family by actually appearing on 101. The agreement had been there for us to start with 101, but we actually started I think it was about 6 weeks later. And all those nerves came back over and over again about, okay, God, wow, now I got a global radio audience. And even though, Hot 101 at that point, I think, was reaching 40 to 50,000 regular, steady listeners, around the world. And I knew that not all of them, of course, were listening at that particular moment. It still got to me that, like, holy crap, there's a lot of people around the world watching now or listening, really. And then eventually that became okay. Do you know what I mean? It just became routine. And perhaps maybe in part it tells you that things that you're used to, even though sometimes they can be bigger, different, daunting, at the end of the day, you still know what you know. New jobs are nerve-wracking, but you know how to do the job, but you get nervous. I knew how to do this. I just worried about, and still worry about, being, you've heard me say this 1,000 times before, being that proverbial tree in the woods. Is anybody listening? If a tree falls in the woods and no one's there, does it make a sound? Well, I did not then. I do not now, and never want to be that proverbial tree in the woods. And then we fast forward a bit to, I think it was maybe a little over 2 years ago now. We were very graciously, very sincerely, respectfully, excitedly welcomed into the TCP Media Group. And the number of groups on Facebook began to grow. We'd add groups every now and then. Some weeks we'd add several, some weeks none. The shares began to climb. The people who would catch the program after the live, because Sunday at 5 is not always convenient for a lot of folks, that began to grow. The guests began to come. The conversations began to happen. The phone calls began. The comments on the program after we were off the air began to increase. The number of groups allowing us, very kindly, very graciously allowing us onto their space, began to grow. The number of folks who continued to watch on Facebook and YouTube after we left the air began to grow. Here we are 4 years later. Hot 101 is now routinely reaching 110, 120-ish thousand people on a regular listening basis. The TCP Media Group continues to be a strong presence, and we continue to be a very humble part of that family. The number of places that we share on Facebook per week is easily over 100. It is rare, if ever, anymore that we are under 100. The good folks like you on the other end of my voice continue to share the program to other groups that you're in on your own personal space. We share to Twitter each week. We share to, well, the YouTube I talked about. LinkedIn. I remember to do my TikTok today. In fact, I did it well over 6 hours ago, which I usually never remember to do it that early. The Instagram is up and running. And we continue to be here. When I go to some meetings, not all, but some, a good number, especially state meetings, and I see and or meet people that I'd never met before. And they see me and they say, "You're him." And I just think, who's that? Who am I? And they say they watch, or they have watched, or they've caught the program, at one time. It might not be regulars, because again, Sunday evening is still somewhat of a traditional family time. in this country. Plus the time change, it's the middle of the afternoon on the West Coast. So maybe it's not the easiest time to be in front of your radio or in front of your computers, devices, etc. Despite the fact that we continue to have a wonderfully dedicated and, dare I say, large audience from the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast, the Oregon groups that I'm a member of. We've had several guests from Oregon. And then here we are. It's been 4 years. So we now reach. Now, I can't tell you. I cannot and will not tell you that this is the complete number of people that are watching and or listening each week, but we reach the total number of people that we can reach in any given week, at least theoretically, is unlimited. But if you add up all the people who are subscribed to the YouTube, all the likes, subscriptions, et cetera, the total number of members of all the Facebook groups that we share to the listening audience of Hot 101, we reach about 250,000 people around the globe. And you folks are the largest reason for that. It's not because of anything in particular that I'm doing here. It's because you're paying attention. And because we, at least so far, are not that tree in the woods. You have given us a chance. Many of you have made us a regular part of your week. If you don't catch us live, you watch the recording, whether it's all at once or in pieces throughout the week. But you've given us a chance, and it's partly why we're still here, and we couldn't be without you. So just as much as I'd like today to be celebratory, it also needs to be a very, very big thank you to the people who are responsible for this: April, George, Kristen, the Hot101.net family, and it is a family, the TCP Media Group family, and it is a family. But you all that listen and watch, whenever it is that you take us in, whether it's live or on the recording, whatever Facebook group it is that you might watch us, if you're part of our home group, if you click the link on Twitter and watch, if you watch YouTube, however it is that you take in the program, that we couldn't be here without you. And I'm humbled by it. I'm extremely grateful for it. And let's just keep it going, shall we? And that means not just me speaking at you for 4 hours a week. I want to hear from you. Drop me something in the chat. Call the program. Phone number is already on the screen. We have no scheduled guests. Every past guest has been invited to be here and drop in, say hello, share thoughts. And I don't know who will, and I don't know who won't. I don't know if any of them will. I don't know if all of them will. But wherever you are, this program, to take any further steps forward, needs you. Yet again, Become a regular caller. Drop me your comments in the comments section. Ask questions. Let's talk to each other. Let's keep it going. We can keep building this. What's the same today as when we started? I continue to have the support of dear friends and family, and I'm grateful for it. George, Lynn, my friends at Our Revolution, many local friends here in the Lehigh Valley. That has stayed the same. I am unhealthy. That has stayed the same. And I haven't made a dime on this program. Why do I say that? Why do you care whether I've made money on this or not? Because it's not why I do it. Now, let's be very plain. Let's be very plain. I absolutely wish I did this for a living, that I could pay the bills, take a trip every now and then, the same middle-class American dream that I think most of us have had since we were children. I'd love to do this every single day, have advertisers seeking me out rather than the reverse, have so many calls that I can't get to all of them. But that hasn't happened quite yet. But that doesn't mean that we will not continue to strive for it. I'm having cramps in my feet right now. Give me a minute. Oh, goodness. So that's the same. That's exactly the same as it was when we started. But we can grow past that too. And I hope that we will. But again, just as much as this program is going to be somewhat of a regular program, we're going to talk about what's happened this week, what's coming up in the next week. We're going to talk about history, science, data, facts, issues, policies. And we're going to celebrate a little bit. I hope to have plenty of drop-in visitors throughout our time on the air. But if we don't, we will carry on as we always do. But again, just as much as I hope that this is a celebration, just as much as I hope that you folks on the other end of this are happy that we've reached this far, I hope that, and just as much as we're going to celebrate about that, I very much hope that you will accept my thanks, and that we can thank you, and that you can understand what your participation in this program has meant. And there are varying levels of participation, let's be blunt. Randall participates more than most because he calls. Many of you participate through your comments and your questions, and God bless you for it. And you can all do that, by the way. Those of you who have not done that yet, you can. No one, to the best of my knowledge, has been hurt by calling this program or damaged in any way. Might have been disagreed with, but nobody's been hurt by it. But let's just keep going. Let's keep pressing forward. Because the need for honest discussion, for truthful, factual, realistic, and dare I say even pragmatic discussion continues, if not grows in importance each week, unfortunately. I mean, we could think about that for a sec too. Did we ever think we would live in a country where we were desperate to talk to each other factually and to talk to each other without threat of violence, as we have seen. I mean, that's a milestone in the program too. I got a death threat. Someone wanted to kill me because of what I happen to say here each week. So, as much as I want this to be a celebration, I want it to be a thank you. I very, very, very much want to say thank you to all of you for just being a part, for giving us a chance, for giving us a chance to get to know each other, for giving us a chance to learn about one another, to get a chance to have these conversations, to learn from each other. Watching now, I noticed in the comment section is my dear friend, Robert Smith. Robert and I don't agree on anything. Well, that's not true. That's an over-exaggeration. I should correct that. We do agree on some things, but generally not an awful lot when it comes to policy. And yet if there are too many more genuinely rooted, decent human beings than he, I haven't met them yet. We might disagree. Again, we might disagree on policy, on issues, on policy solutions, on the direction of our nation, our commonwealth, our counties, our municipalities, our neighborhoods. But we get along. We don't name call. We've been frustrated at times, probably with each other, but not to the extent that we see around the country all too regularly now. And it's these kind of conversations to be able to talk to each other, even when we don't agree. Perhaps even more importantly, when we don't agree. That is so important. And it is what we do here. And so again, we don't always have to agree. I'm not right about everything. I'm not smarter or better than anyone. I have different experiences. I have more experience in certain things than perhaps you might where you're listening. But I'm not better and I'm not smarter. Debate breeds understanding. It breeds conversation. And that's when we learn from each other. And that's when we grow. It's when we begin to heal the divisions in this society. So many of the divisions in our current society were put upon us. They are divisions that we have been convinced of. But somewhere along the way, we know that's probably not the way it is. And that means when we come to such a realization that we can stop it and go back to a time where we talked to each other and where Republicans and Democrats agreed on the final destination, but perhaps we disagreed on how to get there. For the longest time in this country, especially post-World War II, a good maybe 10-year period post-World War II, Republicans and Democrats basically agreed on all the issues. Yes, this is where we want to get to as a country. We agree. We just have a different route that we want to get there. And that's fine. These are the discussions that we need to go back to having. I do not need to be shot dead in the street simply because there is a D after my name. By the same token, all people who continue to identify themselves as Republican are not as crazy as the most crazy part, the most right-wing-ish part, the part that consistently discusses violence as a solution to things. Not every self-identified Republican has gone that far. That means there's a good group of us in the middle that can still talk to each other, and we have to. And that, as much as anything, is one of the reasons that we started to do this, is because we weren't talking to each other anymore. Democrats were simply targets. We were firing range, shooting targets. And all too often, those on the right were the ones doing the shooting. But I'm convinced, still convinced, remain convinced that we can talk to each other. We are as divided in this country as we've been since the Civil War. I don't think there's any real surprise there. I'm not breaking any new ground by saying that. But I also think our ability to communicate is so much greater if we simply choose to do it. The earth is not flat. The grass is not blue. The sky is not green. These are indisputable facts. But there are other indisputable facts that those of us who have not listened to them before must listen to now. And then we can move forward together. And what are those indisputable facts? That wealth inequality in the United States is worse now than it was before the Republican Great Depression of the 1920s and 30s. That $50 trillion of wealth, over $1 trillion a year, has been transferred from the bottom 99% to the top 1%, largely because of the theories of Reaganism, of trickle-down economics, of if you just do what's best for the billionaires, it's best for you. That the United States has the highest infant mortality rate of all of these so-called first world Western industrialized developed nations. That we have the highest maternal mortality rate. And that rate climbs even higher when you were talking about babies and women of color. That we have growing areas of this country with no grocery stores, no schools, no public transportation. And yes, back to a pre-New Deal era of this country where they no longer have power and running water. These are indisputable facts. Absolutely indisputable. The number one leading cause of death for children is now gun violence. Not malnutrition, not, I don't know, fill in the blank, not childhood cancer, not childhood diabetes, gun violence, not even car accidents, gun violence. These are indisputable facts. They simply cannot be argued. They are facts. And I continue to believe that where the real conversation then starts is when we ask ourselves the key question. Are we not better than this? Are we not a better country than this? Are we not better communities than this? Are we not a better society than this? Do we not deserve better than this? Are we not capable of better than this? And to me, the answer is, of course we are. Of course we are. But first, we have to be able to pull our heads out of the sand. We have to be willing to take our blinders off. We have to change the channel. We have to change the dial of the radio station. We have to look for the small, independent, no money making programs like this one. And actually talk to each other again. And I remain convinced that we can. And you might think to yourself, why would one friendship that you have make you feel that way? Because that's where it starts. I have no doubt that if Robert was kind enough to have a house party or bring me in front of a room full of 50, 100, 200, 500 Republicans, that they would probably shout me and might even scream me out of the room. But that's where the conversation would start. Maybe the next time they wouldn't. Maybe more of them would call in to hear and listen here. Because I know that they do. Not all of them, some. And we begin to build those bridges again. I'm convinced of it. Maybe I'm overly optimistic, and I'm rarely, if ever, accused of that, of being optimistic. Generally speaking, I am not. I'm generally quite pessimistic as a person. Generally. Not always, but generally. But that doesn't help any of us to be that way. If we're not going to be more optimistic, what is to become of us? And so, what can I say? I just, again, as much of a celebration as this might be, I hope that you take it as a thank you to everyone who has ever listened once or regularly, who has ever watched live or recorded, who has subscribed, liked, shared. We wouldn't be here without it. It doesn't matter how great of a radio program, television program, how beautiful the face, the voice, how factual you are, how entertaining you are. If no one's on the other end, and you don't have a program, but you've been on the other end consistently, and we wouldn't be here without you. And I can't thank you enough. Because for as much consternation as this program can provide me at times, the stress of not finding guests and constantly begging and trolling and searching whatever for guests, the stress of what am I going to talk about today, of the setup and the technical problems and the money spent on computers and technology, and when it's time to go live and sit here and have a conversation with you, there's nowhere I'd rather be. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is what we are doing right now. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. Because we could not be here without you. Let's get to the business end of the program. I have rambled on for almost 45 straight minutes. Let's get to the business end of the show. This is the Kennedy Effect live for the 16th of April, 2023, our 4th anniversary celebration. We appreciate every single one of you being there. For those of you watching live on Facebook, we have shared the program to, I believe, 103 places before I first spoke to you. I hope you will do the same and share our program everywhere that you feel it appropriate, everywhere that you can share it, and maybe even some places that you can't. Because there's nothing wrong with that too. I hope you will continue to share the program and help proliferate us throughout the interweb machine. The Facebook machine, the Google machine, and all that fun stuff. Wherever you might be on Facebook, if you're watching at any of the 103 places that we have shared the program this week, stay right there, enjoy, relax, listen in the background, listen while you are having dinner. If you're on the East Coast, wherever you might be, stay there, relax. I will do my absolute best to stay on this end and monitor and look out for your comments, questions, etc. from those other locations. If you would like to comment to me directly, ask questions, say anything, please feel free to come to our home group Facebook page. You know it by now. You should know it by now. I hope you do. That other side of information is the home group Facebook page for all things surrounding this program. It is always there 24/7. Check out the news articles that we post, which lead to the discussions that we have. To our friends, family, our sisters, our brothers at hot101.net, my same message to all of you as well, and that is thank you. And that is that I continue to be humbled to be part of the 101 family. And it is a family. We support each other. We listen to each other. We learn from each other. And we are the hot101.net family. And of all the places in the world that you would think a show like this would end up, you probably wouldn't think 101. And that's exactly why 101 is so extraordinary, because I am at a place like 101. If you don't know how to listen to hot101.net, well, then you have not been paying attention to me, because I tell you multiple times per program. Our name is our web address. It is hot101.net. There is no type of device that is connected to the internet where you cannot listen to us. Your desktops, your laptops, your tablets, your phones, your smart speakers, your smart headphones, your smart earbuds. You can Bluetooth it in the car. You can Bluetooth to speakers. You can tell Alexa to play hot101.net. And if you don't want to listen to their main website, you don't have to. You can go to the Apple App Store for Apple devices and download the hot101.net app. It is exceptionally easy to use. It opens and starts playing. You don't have to do a darn thing. Tap it and you're good to go. Google Play Store for Android devices, and for all other types of devices, the TuneIn Radio app. Go to the search bar, type in hot101.net, and you can find us there. And of course, the TCP Media Group from Lancaster, PA, and their enormous Facebook following, which continues to grow and stay strong, even though the morning show is no longer with us, which is a real bummer and a genuine loss to the Commonwealth, in my opinion. They continue to live on through Facebook. They have a very large following. They should have a large following. They deserve to have a large following. And you should be checking them out. TCP. So that does it for us. The phone line is already open. It's been on the screen. It's been open since moment one of the program. If you've never called before, I challenge you to do it now. It doesn't hurt a bit. Promise. Ask a question. Challenge me. discuss with me, disagree with me. It's all good. Phone line is open. We don't have a screener. I have nobody listening to it to say, ooh, you want to take this person, but not that person. Nope. It's wide open. 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. That phone line is wide open for you to take advantage of. Pick it up, call, talk to us. You get to talk to everybody around the world. Anybody who's logged in gets to hear you live. And if they don't hear you live, they get to hear you on the recording. You have a chance to have your say. And I hope that you will. We should probably get to a kind of a week in review. It's been yet another week. I mean, it's been something. And I guess at the risk of looking all too predictable, I think I would be remiss if I did not start, or at least mention, but I guess I'm starting with it, what has been taking place in Tennessee. And then by extension, Florida, Texas, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Iowa, increasingly Ohio. I'm going to forget who originally said it. It was one of the framers, that the states, the Constitution outlines that, what is not outlined in it falls to the states or becomes the purview of the states. And we are seeing that. We're seeing it in the what I think can not be described in any other real way than some of our own fellow states descending, if not having made the full transition, into something other than democracy. Small d democracy. For my money, no pun intended, they have descended into full fascism, totalitarian style fascism, where the government, questionably elected in some of these states, is simply ignoring the will of the people that they are supposed to be governing, but I would suggest that they are ruling over them. Very, very similar, if not exactly, to what's happening in my own home township. We don't matter. None of us here matter. It only matters what the three people, well, really the two people that are controlling everything in the township council want. And generally what they want is to make money. And anyone else be damned. Even people that voted for them, who might not disagree, who might not agree with them on certain issues, to hell with them too. The landfill company will ride in over the hill like the cavalry 6 weeks before election day and drop another $100,000, and they'll buy another election. And we're seeing that throughout the country. I think I can make a very solid academic argument, even legal argument, Florida, Texas especially, but to a lesser extent, but certainly traveling down that road, South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Iowa, Ohio, Indiana, are no longer functional democracies. Governor DeSantis, in the quiet of the night behind closed doors with no press, no attention, after 12 midnight, when most people were asleep, signed a 6-week abortion ban. A piece of legislation that garners only about a third support of the public in his own state, but he signed it anyway. Because that third is the third he needs to suck ass to potentially become the Republican Party presidential nominee. And it's that very vocal, loud minority that very well could make him that nominee. But he seems to be forgetting about the other 70% of the population when it comes to the general election. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is openly lobbying, if not indirectly commanding his parole board to pardon a convicted murderer, a white man, of a white pro-Black Lives Matter protester. I think the governor thinks he's being clever because both men, the murderer and the victim, are white. But what he's also secretly saying, quietly saying, the dog whistle part, is that, well, he just got killed at a Black Lives Matter protest anyway, so really it doesn't matter. And he probably deserved it. And what Governor Abbott is doing, according to multiple legal experts and reports out of Texas, is blatantly illegal. But again, he's doing it anyway. He and Governor DeSantis are still flying asylum seekers around the country, dumping them in blue states and blue cities, blatantly, illegally, and not just illegal according to Florida state law, Texas state law, or even United States national law, but international law. They are trafficking in human beings for political purposes. It's literally against international law, United Nations Charter and law, and even war crimes laws. These states are, in fact, laboratories, except that the chemical composition, the chemical experiment happening in the laboratory is going horribly wrong. Now, look, if Governor DeSantis wants to, I don't know, privatize the Florida Turnpike, it's a discussion we can have. I certainly wouldn't support it, but it's a discussion we can have. But to create this paramilitary force of semi-private police that report only to the governor, unleashing them across Florida to intimidate voters of color, to jail voters of color, ignoring the will of the people of Florida who voted 2/3 to 1/3, if I remember correctly, that felons who served their time, who served their sentence to society to completion or release, can have their vote back. And because the Republicans in Florida and Mr. DeSantis didn't like that, they've ignored it. They've literally ignored that vote. The states are not laboratories of democracy anymore. They become laboratories of fascism. And some of these states where these laboratories of fascism are open and running are getting really, really good at it. Florida and Texas leading them, but not exactly bringing up the rear. South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Iowa, Ohio. When you go back to Barack Obama's keynote to the 2004 Democratic National Convention, sort of the summing up of his speech was that there is not a blue America, there's not a red America, there's not a rich America, there's not a poor America, there is one America. He's wrong. Quite honestly, he was wrong then. And he's certainly wrong now. There are at least two Americas. Those of us still living in democratic states, not big D, small d, functioning democratic states, and those of us who aren't. It's not just rich and poor anymore. There are so many divides that have been put upon us as a country. And now this is yet another one. Those of us who still live in democracies and those who don't. And I know that there are people in Florida who don't pay attention to this stuff, and they wake up in the morning, and if they choose to go to work, they go to work. If they don't have to show their papers at the toll booth on the Florida Turnpike, they're not rationing food or anything like that. They still go to their kids' ball games in the afternoon. If they choose to spend a day on the beach, they can do it. I understand that. From a day-to-day standpoint, they might not even feel that their lives are any different. But I assure you they are. And it's only the beginning. The irony and the hypocrisy of the quote-unquote party of small government, who is using levers of power that government doesn't have to rule over the people of these states for their own wealth and power gratifications, and those of the billionaires that own them, should frighten everyone. It is happening. If you wake up tomorrow morning in Florida to go to work, and you may not realize or feel that you're not in a democracy anymore. And on a day-to-day standpoint, perhaps I'm wrong. But just wait until your wife might need an abortion for medical reasons. Just wait until your child tries to check out a book from the library by Toni Morrison. Or even To Kill a Mockingbird. Imagine if you're a member of your family who served their time in prison, rightfully served it, tries to vote and gets arrested all over again by a semi-private paramilitary force. Wait till the institution of higher learning where your child attends is forcibly shut by a governor who simply doesn't like what they teach because it doesn't benefit him. This new registrant of registration of members of the press, of private bloggers, private people who do what I'm doing right now, who criticize the governor, who now go on a list and on more than one occasion are being stalked, arrested, harassed. Their taxes are being audited. They're being followed. Just because they've had the audacity to criticize Governor DeSantis or disagree with his policies. The states are laboratories of democracy. They're also laboratories on how to end it. And that's what's happening. We can talk about that. 267-227-9189. 267-227-9189. Yes, I did do that right out of my memory. 267-227-9189. I thought I just said to myself, you said that correctly, and then somehow thought I screwed it up. 267-227-9189. I want to I don't want to necessarily apologize for him. That's very it almost sounds condescending, and it's a bit presumptive of me to do. But I do know that George very much wanted to be here today. He is simply taking care of, as he often does. I don't know a single human being who spends more time taking care of elderly family than George and Lynn. And that is what they are doing right now. And it is truly something to behold, because it takes a tremendous amount of time and patience and just general kindness and caring. And so while I was expecting him to be here today, even for just a little bit, just to say hello to you, and so that I could yet again thank him for everything that he means to me, to Kristen, to the show. I don't think he will be, and I am saddened for that, but I understand it. George and Lynn do just tremendous. They just do tremendously powerfully human things by taking care of family. And that is exactly what they are doing today. And so, but I would be very remiss if I did not say again out loud to all who can hear me that I am deeply, deeply, deeply grateful to George. And I will tell you a story that I think I've told you quite a number of times before, but I will tell it to you again. When it got to a point where we were, and I'm so sorry I keep sniffling, but I'm getting very stuffy. It's an allergy day here in the Valley, gang. Everything is blooming. It's brutal. But when it appeared as if this program was going to become, easy for me to say, a reality rather than just a thought or concept, as April began to push this forward and, began to line up, a 101 and so on and so on. I told George that I was going to be doing this thing. And I think before I even finished like a real description of what it was going to be, he said, "I'm in." And I said, "What do you mean you're in?" He goes, "I'm in. Tell me what to do." Well, I don't think there is anything to do. Well, nope, there's got to be something. You need technology. What do we have to buy? I'll help you shop. We'll find programs, computer programs for, to get you to here, to there, to here, to there. And he's just been amazing. He is an amazing friend. Lynn is an amazing friend. And Kristen and I are extremely lucky to have their blessings, their backing, they're all of it. Just everything that they've contributed to the program has been invaluable. And we couldn't be here without it. We couldn't be here without them. We couldn't be here without their love, without their support, without their kindness, without his expertise. And while I know that he's listening, or they are listening. I don't know if they're subjecting their elderly family to us, but they are listening. And I just know that please just know this family, as well as them listening, that I love you dearly. You are dear, dear, dear friends to me, and we could not be here without you guys. So even though George is not here today, I will hope that he will be back soon. And please know just how much he means to this. I told you that some past guests and quote unquote family members might be joining us and dropping in to say hello. And one of them has done so very kindly. And that is Fern Laird, the former or current, I guess we'll find out in just a second, candidate for the Pennsylvania State House. Thanks for stopping by to say hello.
Absolutely. Happy 4th anniversary.
Pretty crazy, huh? This
Not as crazy as one might think. I tune in all the time. I'm usually meandering around, but when I heard that you didn't have a guest, I said, let me just sit down and actually sit down and listen this time. So here I am.
I forced you to sit and
No,
take a
it
breath.
was my choice.
Oh, okay.
I chose to do that. I did forward the link also to Vito Malacari, also a former candidate for State House. He is
perhaps once in
going to try. Yes. I do not know if Vito is running again. I'll have to ask him that.
We'll ask that awkward question and make him make an answer. How fun does that sound?
I'm game. I'll watch.
So let me ask you a question that I think is going to look really, really self-serving. And it's kind of why I hesitate to ask, but I want to ask anyway. As someone who's really, really, really been out there on the front lines, are we getting anywhere here with this program? Are we accomplishing anything? Is it still as important as I would like to think that it is?
I think it's important. I think it's important. Maybe you need to be reminded that a protest of one is 100% more than a protest of none.
Truth. Yeah,
so,
this is why I invite other people on, because that's a bloody smart way to think of it, and I sure as hell didn't do it.
Well, you do now. That's the thing you know now. It's the thing you knew before. You just needed to be reminded. I'll be honest, I don't run around saying, hey, did you guys listen to Jeff Kennedy? It's just something that when I get the notification, if I see it, I turn it on because I do enjoy listening to the program. I would say that I'm a serial listener more than I'm a serial guest, but thank you for having me. I do appreciate that. But I think that as a whole, we are getting places. You know, the Democratic Party has the Pennsylvania House for the first time in like a decade. And we've won it twice now in less than a year. And I think that we need to win it now a third time coming the 16th of May. So we can certainly be doing better, but we were better than where we were. So, you know, we've stopped SB 106. So right now, reproductive rights are protected for now. Hopefully it stays that way. With the verdict, was it last week from that Texas judge, I have been out on the front lines again with all of the pro-women protests again. I'm not protesting women, I'm protesting that decision. I'm a big fan.
You are a protesting woman.
Yes, there's
You are
that.
not protesting women in general. You are a protesting woman.
And I feel very much like a lot of people who were there, like, I'm so sick and tired of protesting this. When is it going to end? But it'll be over when it's over, and we're not going to stop that fight. So That's what I've been doing very recently. I know that you have been following the Tennessee Three because I see the updates. I'm not very good at social media, but I do check it from time to time. Um,
Well, I mean, you know what?
I'm
Ask you
really
about right
Go
before
ahead.
you came on. I was discussing the theory that does go back to the framers, and I'm blanking on which framer actually quoted this, that the Constitution outlines that whatever the federal government does not do, cannot do, will not do,
Yeah, the 10th Amendment. I
that
think it
the
was
that the
Madison.
that the states would become these
Right.
laboratories of democracy. It would seem to me that there are a handful of states that have become laboratories of fascism. And not only are they laboratories which would by default sort of think of as an experiment, but they're doing quite bloody well at it. What do you think?
Scary times. Um, it seems that's where we're
Especially
going.
Texas and Florida, and then very slowly bringing up the rear, not too far behind, might I add, Iowa, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Ohio. I think I
So,
said Iowa. Um,
yeah, Ohio's been bad for a long time.
but it seems to me that these states have become laboratories of fascism or dismantling democracy or the anti-democracy.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but I do try to stay optimistic. And I know that's your strong point, Jeff.
That's
But
not my strong point. That's the thing.
yes, I
I
know
think I
sarcasm.
do.
But look
I
at
think I do
Wisconsin.
it in this. I do it in the Zoom square a hell of a lot more, and a hell of a lot better than I do it in my quote unquote private life. But it does become hard
It is.
to be optimistic.
It's very difficult. But look what just happened in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the most gerrymandered
Yes.
state in the United States, and they just elected a progressive to their Supreme Court,
By
which I am
56-44, by the way.
Oh
That
my
wasn't
god, that's
even
not even a
close, really, at the
landslide
end
for
of the
them.
day.
Like 1% in Wisconsin, as I'm sure you know, is a
Yeah.
landslide. This was an avalanche. This was like
Yeah.
10 avalanches.
Yeah.
I
And
am
what
I'm
it
so
proves,
proud of them.
is the power of gerrymandering. That Democrats, by and large, not every single time, but by and large, certainly a winning percentage that would get me in the Baseball Hall of Fame, win statewide races. But yet, the legislative map is so, capital SO, so heavily gerrymandered that there is just shy of a super majority, veto proof majority in that legislature. And that even during the last legislative election cycle in Wisconsin, significantly more people voted for Democrats than Republicans, but Republicans have that damn near veto proof majority. Tennessee, which is a legitimately red state, it's a legitimately red state. But that's not enough. They had to gerrymander the map even further so that their 100-member state house is 75-25 in favor of Republicans in a state that they already controlled.
Agreed.
And that 2 young black men had to be expelled. It wasn't good enough even to censure them, embarrass them, remove them from committees, whatever it might be. They had to expel them. Dear God. Now, there was a state legislator expelled in Arizona this week.
I saw that.
With a bipartisan vote. Nearly half the Republicans voted to expel this election denying female white legislator.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't remember her name, but I saw her. I saw that. So I mean,
what it
there
proves,
are little pockets of hope throughout the states
Right.
where we think that they should be red or that we're typically used to that. Now, one of my best friends lives in Wisconsin, so we are always updating each other on our home swing states. So I know quite a bit about their legislature. I've been listening to her since I started paying attention to politics during Scott Walker was their governor at that time. So I know how bad it's gotten, and I know how much the Democrats are not happy there, and I know how hard they worked to get that win. Not so much up on Arizona, but I did see that, and I was glad to see that. So, people are putting their foot down, more people are coming out. I think that the more Democrats realize that you can't keep leaving these seats go unchallenged, you have to get out there. You have to make them spend their resources in their home districts so they're not out helping candidates in other districts because you've handed them that seat and now we're helping more people. And then
even when Democrats do win a statewide seat, these supermajority legislatures just simply change the Constitution or remove powers from the governor, from the attorney general, from the fill in the blank, until such a time as a Republican retakes the seat, then they restore all those powers. These states have become laboratories. They have become the exact opposite laboratories that the framers intended. They've become laboratories of fascism. They've become laboratories of totalitarianism. They've become laboratories of what this country could be, all too easily. We're only ever an election away from it happening. Imagine a congressional Republican supermajority, given the current state, no pun intended, of the former party known as Republican. Imagine a Republican supermajority. We would
I'm not going to do that to myself.
We'd be showing our papers at every exit off the thruway, I can tell you.
They just did that in, what was it? Not Illinois, Iowa? Not against everybody, against the minors leaving the state.
Oh, well, that was right.
So yeah, that is happening, but
it was part of the Florida abortion 6-week abortion ban too, is that even if a woman does have a spontaneous and or medical reason, because there actually are some exceptions in there, they need confirmation from 2 different doctors.
They need documentation.
Right. Family members, all of this thing. These are not even arguable, dare I say. These are not just differences of opinion about whether the federal government has the power to do X or Y, that the state should do this, or that the Commonwealth should pay for the repairs to that road instead of the municipality or the county. These are not even discussions on issues anymore. These are discussions. These are freedom discussions. These are small d democracy discussions. And to a great extent, in too many of these places, we're losing them. And at the same time, you see the blue states going in the complete opposite direction. New Jersey has made itself a quote unquote sanctuary state for women who need reproductive care. Your records will not be kept. They will be inaccessible. They will not allow these other states to access them or read them or anything like that. In some cases, your transportation, room and board might even be partially covered, if not fully covered. And then you can go back to your state, no questions asked. So we do have, I don't know if he's still at the computer. I hope he is, because, there you go. Another former guest and family member of this program is Nick Presley. I hope you stopped by, not to say, to help us celebrate a little bit. Let's put it that way. Especially and the dew, my friend, my goodness, that's proper, that's proper. And a phone call all at the same time. Everything is happening all at once. Watch out for smoke from the computers. Caller, first name and where you're calling from, please. Are you there?
Is this for me, Seth?
Yes, the caller. First name, where you're calling from.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Cara. Person's name. I'm sorry. My name is Liz Mkhitaryan, and I'm the founder of Stop Moms for Liberty.
Liz, welcome to our program. Thanks for giving us a chance. And please say hi to Fern and Nick. And you're here on our 4th anniversary. So thanks for being part.
That's awesome. That's an accomplishment.
So Stop Moms for Liberty. Give me the elevator pitch.
Yes, sir. Well, I am a retired educator and I live in Florida part-time and in Massachusetts, some kind of a reverse snowbird. So when the attack first started
That's funny.
happening, I thought, what is going on here? Why is my profession under attack? And after dedicating my life to take care of other people's children, I was just appalled at hearing, the threats against teachers, the accusations, the name calling. And I
Scapegoating.
started, it was just ridiculous. So I started doing my research and realized that there were lots of organizations or even groups across the country that were trying to push back. They were, putting together teams to go to school board meetings and, all of these awesome, awesome people that have stepped up. What I saw was missing was the communication amongst them, that it could be two districts back to back to each other, and yet one doesn't know that the other one is fighting the same battle. And so Stop Moms for Liberty started off with my attempt to unite districts in Florida, and it has now grown into 25 plus states and multiple chapters, and I don't know, maybe 7,000 or 8,000 members, I think, in total. So it's a communication strategy to pull everyone together, to share strategies to use against Moms for Liberty, because they are definitely the enemy at that point. And, they're making press releases that someone's out to get them and trying to play the victim. And they're right. Someone is out to get them. The majority of people in this United States do not follow the belief system that they have and do not understand that they are actually part of something very different than what they claim to be. They are not about parent rights.
Well, let me very quickly, for the folks at home and for my dear friends who have taken time to join me here in our fourth anniversary celebration. There's now a good group of folks in the room. I will get to everybody. Everybody seemed to pile in at once, which is awesome, because I really do love when that happens. I love the spontaneity of it. It's one of the great things about this. I will use as an example the occasional times where I swear, and I really try not to do that. Even though we are not governed by the FCC, I can say pretty much anything. I can use pretty much any F-bomb I want. I just don't, because I don't think it's terribly professional. But very similar to when I occasionally slip up. I invited everybody to drop into the program today, and it seems that a good number of you did all at the same time. So please, my dear friends, I appreciate your patience. But Liz, let's cut to the chase with my guests and friends. And here, let's cut, because I would love to have you back for a longer engagement on this.
Yes,
and we
absolutely.
can have a discussion over long hours. Nick Presley shaking his head going, long hours, man, it's a long show. Oh God, it's a long discussion. But
There's a lot of information to share.
but let's cut to a little bit of the chase. My brief, I in no way pretend to be an expert on the Moms for Liberty, and boy, more of that just hypocritical crap of naming yourself for the exact opposite of what you actually are.
Exactly.
But most of the funding, to my understanding, of this group comes from a very small handful of people, including, by the way, the DeVos family.
Correct.
Who made their fortunes through privatization of education. The real goal of Moms for Liberty is to not just degrade, but destroy and end public education and return education in this country to a place where you only get it if you can afford it. And the rest
You're
of you
absolutely correct.
go work in the mills when you're 8. Tell me if I'm
You're
right or
absolutely-
wrong or in the ballpark.
You are not only in the ballpark, that's a home run, because that is absolutely what is happening. And I guess I've really been drawn to this because I lived in Michigan at the time that the DeVos family was taking action there. And then they went kind of quiet for a while. So, I didn't pay attention. I went off and I taught school. And then when she was appointed the Secretary of Education, I thought, something's in play here.
Mhm.
So I've been following this privatization push for years, and it really took hold with Trump administration, with Betsy DeVos in place, and so forth. And so, yes, it is made of very deep pockets. The Heritage Foundation, Hillsdale College. I mean, just so many of the big players in our country. Alex is another association that's part of this, and it is absolutely about privatization. It is about the big money people, and I'll say billionaires, have discovered that there's money to be made in their classrooms. And if they make our public school system look bad enough, it will drive parents away. That's why we see vouchers, we see educational savings accounts, all of these, things that are happening across the country all point to that.
It's also why
And
we see the demonization and the scapegoating of
Yep.
trans kids, LGBTQ kids,
Yep.
kids of
Yep, all
color.
of the hurtful and hateful misinformation, I'll call it disinformation because it is intentional,
Mhm.
is all designed to drive away the customer from the public school system. And the mom or dad that's involved on the local level, I've been shouting it through the rooftop. They don't necessarily comprehend that what they are doing by supporting, by following, by actually participating in the Moms for Liberty attack is they are supporting their child's school closing.
Yep.
I just had a conversation with a gentleman.
Closing, forcing them to send their own kids. And let's be honest, a good number, not all, in a nation of 330 million people, you're not going to have unanimity in anything, but a good number of these folks are wealthy and white, and they can afford to send their kids to different places. But you have people who have been herded, he said carefully, into this quote unquote movement,
Mhm.
who, when those schools shut, will not be able to afford an alternative.
Correct.
And let's remember, you already have an alternative, especially in Pennsylvania, where we throw gobs and gobs of money at these wink, wink, wink charter schools, these wink, wink, wink non-for-profit schools, when they clearly are. You do have a choice. If you want your child to go to a religious or private school, by all means. But you should not get to destroy the system for everyone else. That's a private choice, the same way if you want to fly coach or first class, or if you want a vacation in the mountains or the shore, or if you want to buy Coke or Pepsi. These are personal choices. In a way, the free market does somewhat operate within education, in that I choose my local public school, I choose my local religious school, I choose my local private school, if you will. But the majority, or worse, a very small vocal minority does not get to make that decision. Vito makes an excellent point of vote technical school. You're correct. The choice of a vote technical school, of a county college over a 4-year university. A very small vocal, but yet very well funded minority does not get to make those decisions for the majority. We do not live in a country of minority rule.
Well, we're not supposed to anyway, and that's why we're fighting, because it isn't the majority of people that want to see their schools closed. It isn't the majority of people that want to attend a private school, because frankly, they're being fed information that is inaccurate. I know in the state of Florida, our per pupil funding is, I think it's $7,000 or $8,000, somewhere in that ballpark. You find a private school that's the only tuition for the year.
Right, they're
Very
being told
limited.
that when your local public district just shuts, you can just walk up to the front door of the school of your choice and be welcomed in, and it's simply not
And
the
that's
case.
Nope. That's not the truth. So,
And then
a
when
lot
your
of
kids
these
can't get
parents-
educated anymore, they turn into what we've seen of these immigrant children in Iowa and Illinois working in slaughterhouses.
Yep, yep.
And by the
So
way,
it's
Arkansas
really a fight for democracy.
not that long ago made it legal for kids as young as 13 to work without parental consent.
I read that.
Liz,
So it's definitely a movement, right? They've got all the funding behind it, but I'll tell you, ours has taken off like wildfire. And it's because there are people that know more of the situation at hand and are willing to fight back and say, you know what, this isn't going to take over our country because it's not right. And just because you might want something for your child, you exactly hit it on the head, Jeff, when you said you don't get to choose for every child. And that's just not American. So we're fighting.
thank you for calling in. In no way am I trying to cut you short, but I'm not gonna,
no.
I'm not gonna use up a whole, that's not the right wording. I want you to come back when we have more time. Let's put it that way. And when we can dedicate a program to this, and then by extension, the importance, the deep, like 911 emergency importance of school board elections.
Absolutely.
I hope you will continue to tune into the program for the rest of the evening, and I hope now that we can connect, because we did it through
Yes.
the miracle of the Facebook machine.
Yes.
Oh my God, I
Yeah,
said
I
that.
remember
That we can,
and I thought, oh well, call in.
well, I hope that we can continue to chat. We can schedule a time for you and other representatives of your group from around the country to
Very good.
please come back, and we can spend an entire program on this. And like I said, by extension, the importance of school board elections. You are very kind to call and give us a try. We're
Oh,
not,
no problem.
we're not the
No problem.
biggest,
I will say you're based in Pennsylvania, is that correct?
oh, yes.
Okay, no, don't say, oh, yes, that's a good thing. I'm the only one that gets to say, oh, yes, because Florida is the, the antithesis of what not to do. But in Pennsylvania, we will be pulling together a rally in Philadelphia to
Yes.
protest against the annual Moms for Liberty campaign.
Because
So,
they are still scheduled to have their national
Yep.
convention. Oh, by the way, at the same hotel that the Pennsylvania State Democratic Committee meets on a regular basis. And I have a feeling one of those two things is going to end. Or at least it damn well should.
Yep, there's all kinds of action to get the Marriott to listen. I'm not sure they're listening, but we have some other strategies that are going to play. But we will have a rally, so hopefully you'll help us to get that messaging out there too. But yeah, definitely have your people call my people. That means call me. And very good.
And if you need a speech on that rally day, I'll keep it down to 4 hours, I promise.
Oh, we can definitely talk more.
I'm a Kennedy man, I can talk.
Now, are you part of the infamous
I am.
Kennedy family?
I am.
Okay, I'm from originally Massachusetts, so we can chat about that sometime.
I am
But
distantly.
thank you so much.
Distantly, as any Irish Catholic family would be. It's quite large.
Yep.
So distantly, I don't pretend to be, a progeny of the former president
Sure.
or the former senators, but yeah, big family tree, same tree, different branch.
Great. Well, I'll keep listening, and we'll be back in touch.
Thank you, Liz, for calling, and we'll talk
Thank
again,
you.
and we'll have you and your group on the program. Thanks for giving us a chance.
Thank you, Jeff, and congratulations.
Have a great night. Let me say hi to my friends Nick Presley and Vito Malakari, members of this family, former guests of this program, and guests yet again to come back and say hello on our 4th anniversary. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being patient too. Everything seemed to come in all at the same time. So thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Now
Jeff,
what?
it's good to see you, man. Happy anniversary.
Hang on, caller. Give me a chance. Hold on. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
So hey, Nick. Hey, Vito. Thank you for being here. We do have another call. We'll get to it. Thanks for taking time out. And I don't know, just thank you. I mean, you guys have been important parts of this program in the past. I know you will be in the future. I know you've been extremely kind, not just in your time to come and visit us and be part and share your wisdom and experiences, but also kind of spread the word of what we do here in our humble little program here in our humble little valley. So thank you, guys. How are you? How is everybody? And I don't know, catch us up.
First I want to, can you hear me? First, I
Yes.
want to say, Liz, if you're still listening, we need you in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
I live in central Pennsylvania. I'm in Center County. I went to high school in Blair County, Pennsylvania. I still have friends who live there. Hollidaysburg. There is a very active Moms for Liberty chapter in Hollidaysburg that is causing havoc and chaos in the school system there. A friend of mine was now she's the former school board director, school board president, and she was literally had to be escorted from a school board meeting with local police to protect her against the Moms for Liberty crowd because she refused to fire a teacher who was caught reading the book Genderqueer in classroom to herself. This teacher was to themselves, and so it's kind of messy what's happening across the Commonwealth. I think we see that billionaires are doing that. So, but anyway, thank you, Liz, for doing that. I think we need to get in contact because people out here need y'all. Happy anniversary, Jeff. Thanks for having me on. Life
Thanks
is,
for taking time. It means a lot to me. It truly does.
yeah. And I've been meaning to get in touch with you anyway. So I had to log off and switch onto my personal email account. I think it was on my work email account. And I don't think I can come on this show on my work email account. So
I don't know what that says about, I don't know what that says about our program, but
it just says you're partisan and I can't be at work.
I can't help it. I mean, it is what it is.
I'm not mad about it.
Just like the whole theory behind the program in the first place. History shows policies of this party work, and they work for the vast majority of human beings. And look, as I took most of the first hour to talk about, democracy demands at least 2 functioning political parties. We don't have that here. A parliamentary system breeds even more. And I'm not terribly opposed to a parliamentary system, by the way. We don't have one. We're not going to have one anytime soon. That said, democracy demands 2 parties. I wish we had 2. There's only one left that functions. And hell, you get enough Democrats into a room, they'll argue whether it even functions or not. But at least we're the only ones trying. The other one's not a party anymore, it's a corporation. It's owned by a very small, centralized group of stockholders, and the employees are what was the party structure and the elected officials. Their sole purpose to drive profits to the top, which is no longer just tax cuts anymore. As Senator Sanders, Senator Warren, Representative Jayapal, Khanna have all told us, it's now about extracting it from the rest of us. They've made as much as they can make. The Fed has pretty much printed about as much as it can print. They now need to take it from the rest of us. And democracy demands 2 functional parties. I wish we had them. I wish we had them. I wish we had the glory days of this country, post-World War II, where Republicans, generally speaking, and Democrats, generally speaking, always agreed on where we wanted to end up, but we maybe just disagreed on what roads we wanted to take to get there. I'd love to see those days come back. I just don't see it. Because too many of the self-identified Republicans out there now would just as soon shoot me dead just because I'm a Democrat.
It's funny you say that, Jeff. Just a quick aside. In my campaign last year on November 8th, I was going polling place to polling place, and 2 Republicans in 2 different places told me that I should be lined up and shot just because I'm a Democrat. Just because I'm a Democrat. And I'm sure Fern could tell you the same thing up here in northeastern Pennsylvania happened to her. And we have one party that functions and functions for the will of the people and tries to institute its policies. You're right, Jeff. Moms for Liberty is just a function of the wealthy that's trying to get their education subsidized. It's as simple as that. And
Yeah.
that's
I
where
don't
this
think
will,
it's, you know what, I don't think it's even that. I think it's more simple than that. And that's not to, intentionally, disagree with you for entertainment purposes. I do genuinely disagree. I don't think it's so that taxpayers will subsidize their choices. I think it's to completely deny education to about 98% of the children of the country. That and
Yeah.
return this to a point. I'm very happy to see Nick shaking his head. You know where I'm going from a historical reference.
They're
To
the
go
daughters of
back to a
democracy on
part-
steroids.
Well, to go back to a part where to a country. Look, I've said this before on the program. I know I sound like I'm meandering. I'm actually getting somewhere. I don't know where I'm getting. But I'm getting. Republicans do want to return this country to the 50s, the 1850s, a pre-Civil War society where the South was an oligarchy, a fascist oligarchy with private police forces that hunted down human beings that were property, and that only the richest plantation owner children got an education, only if you could afford it. And they did it that way intentionally. The white poor in the South didn't get an education. So go work in the slaughterhouse, go work in the cotton mill. They probably had, well, they didn't probably, they had it better off than the slaves in the field, but not by a hell of a lot. They were indirectly property. That's what we're talking about going back to when we talk about the disintegration, the intentional destruction of public education. 2% of the country, you can afford X academy on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Brilliant. The rest of you, shine shoes, pick up garbage, go work in the shirt mill that's going to burn to the ground because we locked the doors anyway. This is what we're talking. There's 13-year-old kids working in slaughterhouses in the Midwest. Now,
You keep,
hey,
if
what
you
the
if
hell?
you keep people uneducated, then they can't increase their wealth base, right? They can't
Right.
pass that down to their families, but they also don't have the education to organize against you.
How do you complain about a government when you don't understand how it works?
We see that all the time today.
So why did we end why did the Reagan administration end civics education? It's pretty hard to complain about a government when you don't understand how it works. And even lesser, don't understand your part in it. Let me get to the caller before I lose you. 507, area code 507. First name, where you're calling from, please.
I'm so upset that you don't know my number yet.
Is it Amanda?
Happy anniversary, Jeff.
I don't know your number. We live in a cell phone society. I pick up the screen, I do Amanda, and then I call Amanda. I don't call this number. I tap in, it's you. Well, thank you for a few minutes. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
We're just trying to celebrate a little bit, see if we're. I guess I'm as I mentioned in the first hour, I'm celebrating. I'm also saying thank you, because if it weren't for folks like you who have taken time to come on this program before, and for every single person that listens, shares, live or recorded, we wouldn't be here. We'd be the tree in the forest. And also to try to gauge, are we getting anywhere? 4 years. I hope we're getting somewhere. Are we making a difference?
Definitely getting somewhere.
I guess I'm asking that question too. I wasn't planning on asking that question. As Nick is smiling because I'm looking at the squares. We always have fun about Nick's now on the bottom, so now I'm looking down.
I think
As if somehow he can see me staring at him, which is, I don't know, it's a Zoom thing. But I guess I'm asking that too. I'm saying thank you. I'm celebrating and also saying, are we getting anywhere?
I think it's fortuitous that you brought me in just now.
What's that?
Well, because you know what I've been saying all along since 2020 when I started running. We are getting somewhere with the old school Republicans, the Republicans that still stand for something, that still believe in policy, you know, from decades ago, that are still hanging on to the hope that they can turn off the Trumplican Party and turn back on the Republican Party.
Right. Yeah, sadly, there's not enough of them, but yeah.
Quite a bit of time with a lot of them lately that are in the same room with current local Democratic candidates, helping our current local Democratic candidates defeat people from their own party. It's been amazing. And I think it's shows like yours. It's all of the podcasts that are out. It's the messaging. It's everything. We're starting to see a shift come together. I too have been told that I should be shot because I'm a Democrat, but that came from the pseudo patriot party. The people who claim to be patriots but have absolutely zero understanding of what made America or what America is, or even how to, I don't know, read the Constitution.
Right.
So I don't.
Right. It's built into it, isn't it? That
Mhm.
I always find this to be one of the ironies. I'm sure the three of you, you know, Nick, Vito, Fern, you'd probably agree. I would hope you'd agree. The opposite of love is not hate. It is apathy. You don't criticize something because you care nothing about it. You criticize it and you want to see it better because you care about it, because you love it. Now, again, I hate to keep picking on Robert, and I hope he's still listening. My dear friend Robert Smith, who is as Republican as it gets, that man would open up his home to me in 2 seconds if I needed it, and I would do the same for him. We agree on almost no policy. We agree on a hell of a lot more than he wants to admit, but we don't agree on an awful lot. But at the very minimum, we can talk to each other. There are still people that we can do this with, and it's important that we reach them. We may never get them to agree with us, but my goodness, if we can't talk, where does that leave us? And you've been really strong in getting that. I've heard the stories. You've told me the stories of walking into those VFWs and those biker bars and the outdoor Republican picnics and saying, yep, that's me. This is who I am. But yet I'm here to help you too. I mean, it's a pretty remarkable message. It is somewhat, I don't say this flippantly, truly, I don't. It is a bit of a miracle you haven't been shot yet in this modern society. But I know that you've literally, you've gone into the lion's den and come out unscathed. And not only that, but come out with people on your side. It's brilliant that.
People want to be heard. They want to be treated with respect. They haven't been in decades. I'm not going to lie, it's both parties' fault. And so when you take the opportunity to walk in, one, they recognize it was probably stupid of you to go in there. But two, they have a certain amount of respect for you because you did it. And you're showing them that they actually matter. And then it's talking about issues. It's not talking about politics. It's not talking about policy. It's talking about issues. What do they face when they sit down at the kitchen table? What keeps them up at night? Are they able to pick up overtime? Do they have to pick up overtime just to make the bills? Those are the things they care about. Those are the things they want to know people are listening to them about.
I actually mentioned
And
last
ask
week.
them, ask them, how does an LGBTQ person, how is their mere existence affecting these people's ability to pay their own bills or get a job?
Right. That's
And
that
they can't tell you, and
segmentation.
they're like, that doesn't. And I'm like, really? So the important things you're telling me about are what's happening at your kitchen table.
Right.
How are you going to keep a roof over your head, clothes on your back, food on the table?
That's that
Your
segmentation
party is only
that
focused on something that has nothing to do with that.
that's that segmentation, that breaking down, that division, that dividing us to as many different small groups as we possibly can, so that it's hard to stand together when you're all broken into so many different little groups. It's very simple. 100 people in a room. There's one of the 1%ers and the rest of us are the 99%. There's more of us than them. And we can certainly do better than what we're doing if we stand together. And that's exactly why the billionaire class works so hard to divide us down into smaller and smaller and smaller groups, said that we will constantly pit ourselves against each other. And then we can't stand together, even though we all have so much in common that we care about and that we stand for. Heck, maybe 80% of the country doesn't have a deep opinion about the more nuanced and subtle details of foreign policy, but they do want to see a doctor. And they do want to be able to feed their families. And they want their school to function. And boy, if we could just get back to that. I've actually been welcomed, very humbly welcomed, into 3 separate groups now. I will try to scroll through and find the names of them so that I'm exact, that are based on Republicans and Democrats coming back together to work for a better future for this country. And I've shared the program there and got, at least so far they've taken it. I might be highly, highly partisan. In fact, I'm not, I am. Because I do think what I believe in, what progressivism believes in, what liberalism believes in, what the New Deal believed in, what Teddy Roosevelt believed in, and Jefferson and Madison and Truman and Johnson and President Kennedy. I believe it's correct. The science, the history, the data, the facts show it's correct. But it doesn't mean that we can't still have a discussion about it and that we can't disagree about it. That's why I'm as partisan as I am, because history shows I'm right. It's just truth. History shows I'm correct.
For the record, okay, I am not saying that your partisan nature is bad or a problem. Okay, I just had to switch to you guys. That's all.
No, it's just the point I'm trying to make is that I am not open to discussion. Come disagree with me. Let's talk about it. But boy, if we don't talk at all, where does that leave us?
It leaves us in a bed of disinformation, bro.
And segmented and constantly pitting ourselves against each other. Somebody, I don't know who that is. Somebody's coming to visit, but I don't know who it is. We're going to find out in a second. Let's see if I'm getting.
Well, I'm already on, so it's not me.
Oh, I know it's not you. There is an area code 215 in the room. Can you tell me who it is, please? Because you didn't put your name there.
It's Chuck.
Oh, gosh, Chuck, sorry. Professor Chuck Panaccio in the room to say hello. Welcome, sir. Your name
Well,
didn't
thank
come
you.
up. That's why I got not worried. I guess a little-
I don't.
Just
yeah,
your phone
yeah,
number is
yeah.
there.
We're gonna. Sounds good. How are things?
They're okay, sir. How are you? Welcome. Thank you for stopping to say hello. Welcome to our 4th anniversary.
Yeah. Is there cake or ice cream or?
And when will you be delivering it?
Well, Nick was supposed to bring it, but then he changed. He brought the cake and ice cream on his other account, and he changed. So he left it over on his other account. No, there's no. I wish there was cake and ice cream. Believe me, I wish there was. Maybe after I'm done, I'll run downstairs and find something sweet.
Right.
But thanks for stopping to say hello to us. Chuck Panaccio is among the very lowest lines on his resume is that he is a dear friend to me. Among his much higher lines on his resume is a professor, union organizer, former candidate for the United States Senate from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and a tireless, I can't put tireless enough many times, advocate for the what should be a very simple concept of everyone should be able to see a doctor. So welcome back, Chuck. Tell us what's I've asked people that have been kind enough to visit us so far tonight. We're celebrating. I'm saying thank you to everybody, guests and audience alike, but I've also kind of asked the question as a relatively small program in the grand scheme of things, one that doesn't have huge advertising or make a lot of money, are we getting anywhere? Are we accomplishing anything?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think of this place, this space, as similar to the meeting I have every Sunday. It's the Justice for All Network. It feels like a think tank with a heart is what this is. It's like a think tank with a heart. It's a place where we come in with core values, which is what connects us. We have a strong moral compass, and we look for solutions to many of our society's problems. We connect ourselves across these issues, right? Intersectionality, and we connect ourselves across generations, intergenerationality, and we can always do better at all that, and also, of course, connect ourselves across race and class and geography, gender, what have you. That's, to me, that's what this place is. It's an inspiration for the work I do when I'm wearing any number of other hats. So, I think building up ideas is really a powerful part of this program. And I just so wish that we could get out deeper into the I guess the shared conversation out there. But in the meantime, I think it's a great place to develop ideas, build relationships, and build a winning strategy. There's a lack of real strategic thinking in social justice politics as well, Jeff. And I think you're a good strategist, as are your partners here. So I think it's all very powerful.
Well, that's kind. And it might sound like to maybe some folks in the audience, or maybe even some of the folks have been kind enough to visit us this evening, but I might be fishing for some form of, flattery or compliment or something. Genuinely, honestly, I beg you to realize I'm not. I do wonder sometimes that as we continue to, as I meet people across the Commonwealth at these different meetings and gatherings, both virtual and in person, people who know me, who know this program, they've heard of it, and they just don't seem to have, they hear it, but they may not listen to it. I'd love to, it'd be nice to know if we're getting anywhere. And I know that the growing audience shows that we must be accomplishing something. The audience has quintupled in the time that in the 4 years that we've been on the air, but so we must be doing something right. But I'm forced to kind of think about something that April mentioned 2 weeks ago, that my audience could have grown by 20 times or 100 times if I would just swear more, scream more, bang the tables, lie, have guests on that I can attack and savage and call. My audience might be 10 times what it is now. It might be 20 times, 100 times what it is now. But what does that get us? Where does that take us? What do we accomplish with that?
You'd be feeding into the many streams that are funneling into the rise of fascism in this country and abroad. That's what that would be accomplishing, if that's an accomplishment. I mean, that's really, this is about civility, and it's about coming up with, connections, relationships, ideas that are not often discussed in many corners of our society, in the broken media industry that is ours. So, no, the audience is one thing. Good for Tucker Carlson. He's got all the white supremacists eating out of his hand. Good for him. He makes a lot of money. Good for him. He lies through his teeth. Good for him. He's feeding fascism locally and globally, right? I mean, he bowed and kissed the ring of Viktor Orban in Hungary. Good for him.
And continues to do so.
What's that?
And continues to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
Well, let me ask the room. I had the opportunity to discuss this with Fern when she first was kind enough to log in. but Chuck, especially you as a history professor, but also Vito, Nick, Amanda on the phone. Chuck will correct me as to which framer is actually attributed to this quote, but that the states would be the laboratories of democracy. It would seem to me that we have a handful, well, more than a handful, of states that have become laboratories of anti-democracy, of fascism in and of itself. Florida, Texas, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Iowa, Ohio. Am I right or am I wrong? There really are two Americas here, and it's not just rich and poor, black and white, male, female. It's small d democratic and capital F fascist. Am I wrong or is it hyperbole? Nick,
No,
what do you think?
You are absolutely right. I do a lot of work in the democracy space now around protecting the right to vote and protecting our votes. And we see disinformation, and we're in operation in 8 states. We see disinformation all over the place. We see that there are active attempts to dismantle our democracy. And it's in Pennsylvania, this is the year where a lot of the mechanisms to protect those democratic institutions, small d democratic institutions, are most vulnerable, because it's your county commissioners, your court of common pleas judges, your school boards, which then create the ideology that supports or denies this fascism. This is absolutely an issue. And then we see it in the rise of the hate groups. I live at Penn State, and there was a hate group that was here a couple weeks before the election last year, and here they may come back again, on recruiting. It's a calculated, coordinated, multi-state strategy, and it requires the same to counter it. Unfortunately, it's so broad, so deep, and so well funded that it requires the same broad breadth of issues and depth of issues in order to address it as well. And so we have to do what your show is doing. I think quintupling in 4 years is fantastic, and we'll see continued growth moving forward as well. Your show helps bring those. Just look at who's on the call right now. We're from a bunch of different places and backgrounds and education levels, even, Professor. Hello.
George only wishes that his salary had quintupled in the last 4 years. I assure you it has. It's zero. It was zero before. Now it's 0 to the 5th power. But what do you think, Chuck, about the states becoming anti-laboratories, becoming laboratories of anti-democracy?
Yeah, the person to whom that quote's, I think, most popularly attributed is former Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis. And what he was commenting on was his observations of what had occurred during the progressive era, really beginning in the 1880s, when a place called Milwaukee, Wisconsin, began to experiment with social justice reform. And then it went statewide in the 1890s, and then it went national under TR in the early 1900s. So that's what he was referencing. And also, as we know, the FDR's New Deal programs, they were rolled out and experimented with in Albany before they went national. So there is precedent for this, and a real understanding that states can be positive laboratories. But to your point, because of the existence of ALEC, right, the American Legislative Exchange Council, where they take these white papers and they spread them around, so-called the anti-labor laws, right to work, so-called right to work laws, as well as the gun rollbacks, all these initiatives, they're just mimic legislation. The other thing to be conscious of for folks who aren't yet is the Federalist Society. The Federalist Society is pushing down into every court level system. Leonard Leo's Federalist Society is backed by a notable billionaire. I don't have it in front of me right now, but their work is far from over. They want to capture the entire court system, not just the Supreme Court, which they've already got. They've got 6 members on that court, including Roberts. So that's another, that's something that the Democrats have been asleep at the switch. Excuse me. You've got to come up with a counterpunch to ALEC and got to come up with a counterpunch to the Federalist Society in a big hurry. Excuse me, I have to step away for a few minutes. I'm doing a quick transaction. I will be back. Thank you. Sorry
Thank
for
you,
having
Chuck.
to cut out.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to mute myself and I will be back. Thank you.
Vito, if you're still, I don't know if Vito is still with us there. I see he's off. I'll ask Amanda until I can see Vito again. How about these states, Amanda, becoming laboratories of anti-democratic activities?
I think that's spot on accurate. And unfortunately, it's because the government at the federal level has not sent a bare minimum basic level of guaranteed freedom for all citizens. That's what the federal government is supposed to do. We set the bare minimum. States can then build upon it. But if there is no minimum, and if we're going to constantly undercut the people and not do the job and blame everything that happens on one party or another, or one group of people or another, that's never going to happen. We're never going to stop this anti-democratic move within the state. The people in each and every state are not protected by the Constitution of the federal government.
An interesting side note is that Mr. Leo, that Chuck mentioned, Leonard Leo, is now under investigation for illegal campaign finance operations, for laundering money. It was pretty well publicized. I still don't think the media did as good a job of it as they could have when he received a balloon payment of $1.6 billion to continue his quote unquote work, which is stuffing the courts full of these 30-something fascist folks who've never tried a case. They might have law degrees, but they've never tried a case. So they are there simply to do what they are told when these cases come in front of them, as the Trump judge in Texas with the abortion pill has demonstrated. He's there to do what he's told. There's no precedent for the way he operated in that case. There's no precedent for his ruling. There's no legal basis for any of it other than what he just created. I always find it interesting how much the right wing will, forgive me, how much they'll bitch about an activist court until they use one.
I'm ecstatic that, they're investigating him. I am running in one congressional district, so I can only speak to just one other person who's a current office holder. He was elected while under investigation by Medicare for Medicare fraud. He's been reelected and is currently under investigation for insider trading. But where do you see that in the news? I don't even see it in our local news anymore. We have 12 counties, and not one of the newspapers in any of those 12 counties are talking about any of these issues with him. You know what he stands around and talks about? Woke. We're all woke. He sounds like Tucker Carlson. He just hired new campaign staff. They are all super Trumpers. Every last one of his new campaign staff is super Trumpers. Why isn't there an investigation into him? Why isn't that out in the news? Why aren't we pushing this?
Well, that might be a
And
greater.
he's just one example. Do you know how many
Yeah.
of them there are that are doing this exact same thing? They're under investigation for all sorts of things, but poof, that certain right amount of money must have been met, and the stories disappear and nobody picks them up.
Well, doesn't that lend itself, if you will, to the greater discussion of media post the Telecommunications Act of '96, signed by a Democratic president, ironically, and the well, really the dismantling and the destruction of local media. I mean, we need local media. MSNBC is not going to spend 30 hours a week on the investigations into Mr. Muser. Just aren't.
No,
But
and
Pennsylvania-
they're the only ones doing it. So regardless of the telecommunications bill under Clinton, whatever, he made a mistake. He's made several. Tannis was another one. that we know that there is a 5-year loophole. There is a broken section of that whole redo that was done under Clinton. And yet, since the 90s, no one has touched it to fix the loophole. Not a single person has gone after the loophole to fix it. Obamacare, it's not perfect. There are lots of things that need to be fixed. No one has addressed the issues that are broken. Why? Because we're not doing our jobs. I shouldn't say we, because you and I are doing our jobs. Fern does her job. Vito's doing his job. Nick's doing his job. Chuck does his job. We do our job.
And why? And
The
why?
people that run the office haven't done their jobs in decades.
Why is
Very
Louis
few.
DeJoy still running the post office? Why is the Trump's nominee, whose name I always forget, still running the Social Security Administration when now Medicare is now a full approaching 60%, 60% privatized? Vito, let me ask you. I haven't had a chance. No, don't worry. We will get there. We will get there. Vito, I didn't get a chance too much to talk to you. You've been so kind to be here, and you've been so patient listening to everybody else. Let me ask you about this larger idea that I seem to have in my brain, right or wrong. And I'm wrong a lot. That the states have become laboratories of anti-democracy. I mean, we see it here in the Commonwealth that only once we got a more fair legislative map did we see legislative elections that actually kind of reflect the greater Commonwealth. It is a very purple state. We are, but we didn't see that before. We got a more fair map. I think it still could have been more fair than it is, but certainly is more fair than it was. And now we see this shift in the legislature. What do you think about my theory, or this overarching theorem, that, if that's the right word, that France will tell me after it's over if I'm using the wrong grammar. I always get my grammar corrected from France at the end of the show. But that the states have become laboratories of anti-democracy. They've become laboratories of fascism.
So, Jeff, I have two things. I 100% agree with you. There are states that have become laboratories of fascism. You mentioned this earlier on. Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, 13 years old, allowing child labor to help fill the needs of businesses to exploit children once again. You said it earlier. It's turning back to the
In direct
1850s.
violation of federal law, by the way.
Absolutely. And it's become a laboratory of anti-democracy and a laboratory of fascism. And other states have followed suit. Even Florida's 6-week abortion ban, when months ago, 15 weeks that was in Florida that's the basement. That's where we're going to go. But in the dead of night, Ron DeSantis signs a bill. In the dead of night, Ron DeSantis signs a bill so nobody else could see this going on. But I will tell you, Jeff, you've asked this question a few times. Are you making a difference? Are we making a difference? And I will tell you the answer to that question is absolutely yes. I want to look at New Mexico and Minnesota. What Governor Walz has done in Minnesota. The day he signed free universal breakfast and lunch for his students, the joy of those children when he was surrounded by them, knowing that they can get at least two meals a day from their school, right? Compare that to the picture of Sarah Huckabee Sanders signing her child labor bill, of those children thinking, oh no, does this mean I'm going to have to go to work tomorrow?
And in similar vein, it was, I want to say it was Iowa. I think I'm right. That removed all barriers for children as young as 8 to openly carry weapons.
It really has
dystopian. It's like
a
science. It's like a bad science fiction story. It's dystopian.
It's scary, right? It really is this idea of two Americas, an America that tries to give kids a meal and another America that wants to give kids a gun. And that's not an America that's sustainable.
what's-
That's not
Because what's more profitable, giving them the meal or giving them the gun?
the gun, right? Right. It costs money to feed kids, and
It costs
does
money
not.
to feed kids, but it makes money for a very small, very, very small handful of people if you buy them guns.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to the point that you were on last hour. You know, how can you squeeze a few more dollars out of people for the wealthiest individuals in this country? And that's one of those ways that backs up, that shows what you're saying is right. But I do believe there's a way that we fight back. There is a way that we see good government in states like Minnesota that offers universal lunch, universal breakfast for kids. You know, here in Pennsylvania, we have tens of thousands of kids that are hungry each day that come to our schools that carry lunch debt. And these aren't kids that are free and reduced. These are kids whose parents make just over that amount of money, that $36,000 for a family of 4, and they don't qualify, or they don't fill the paperwork out.
No, and
Or
I
their
would
dad lost their
reiterate
job.
some of the things that I've highlighted about New Jersey, which I think is deeply underrated. And I think Governor Murphy might just be the best governor in the country. Universal pre-K, floating wind turbines that are going to power the state, increased taxes on the largest corporations and the richest people, him included, and forced the legislature in session until they did it, increasing taxes on himself, literally, not just the way Trump tried to tell us he did it for himself when he actually cut them dramatically by 83%, but actually increased them because he's a billionaire himself. The increased level of scrutiny from an environmental standpoint throughout the state, infrastructure spending, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yet at the same time, at the height of the pandemic, went to Washington to meet with Trump when he was still in the White House to say, here's what we need your help. What can we do to help the federal government facilitate the help that the states need? Put all of that stuff aside and said, the nation needs you here. What can we do to help the feds? What can the feds do to help us? Perhaps one of the most underrated, if not the single most underrated governor of the country, by the way.
Yeah, I don't disagree, Jeff. And I think your point is on par with the idea. And I think Chuck talked about it earlier, you know, this idea of constitutional federalism, of states and the federal government needing to work together to better the lives of its citizens each day. Whether that is Governor Murphy traveling to DC to speak with then President Donald Trump about how we could push through and pull through this pandemic to ensure that, you know, we didn't see that astronomical number of people that died that shouldn't have died during COVID because of the lax rules in so many states. But we unfortunately have a division within this nation that states don't want to expand Medicaid, even after individual citizens voted for it, right?
Exactly.
You know, it's
how many election results have just been flat ignored? I'm not even talking about election denialism or the myth of election fraud, or voter fraud for that matter. We did have 3 cases of voter fraud in Pennsylvania in 2016. They all voted for Trump. But there is no mass voter fraud. There is no mass election fraud. But the number of elections across the country that have just simply been ignored by Republican majorities, people who have served their time to have their right to vote restored, people who don't want abortion bans and want reproductive rights to be protected, some of them willing to codify it in their state constitutions, expansions of voting access. I'm not even going to say the right to vote, because the right to vote is so naturally ingrained. It is such settled law. It is specifically, the 14th Amendment grants it, and it's backed by the motor voter bill of 94, I think it was. None of which has been challenged or adjudicated. Those rights exist, but we're seeing votes just flat ignored, just complete. We don't like the result of that, so we just won't pay attention to that one. I mean, that's about as authoritarian as it gets.
Exactly. And unfortunately, in some places like Idaho, in some places like Florida, the will of the people is ignored. And in those same states, we see education being cut. Why? This all goes back to, previously, the idea that an uneducated population doesn't understand that they have the power when they organize together and stand up together. And it's all this singular play, this singular thread. I do believe that fascism plays into, that they try to take these pieces, and it starts with I at the base level education. I can't say it enough, and leads into voting and voting rights. And over time, the erosion of those two things leads us into fascism.
Amanda, I want to open up the phone line for anybody else that might be willing to call in. Give me some last thoughts, and let me, of course, again, 1,000 times say thank you for everything that you've done for me and for this program, and spreading the news, so to speak, and spreading the word of it, and for you continually being willing to be part of it. Let me just leave. What other thoughts might you have before we say good night to you?
Well, happy 4th anniversary. Here's to the 5th, 6th, 10th, 20th. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for supporting me. Without shows like yours and podcasts like yours, candidates like Vito and Fern and I, we don't get heard. Our media is run in these red districts by people who want to see us shut up, go away, be buried, pick your poison. So without people like you and shows like this, we wouldn't have a platform. We wouldn't be able to speak to everyone. And we really are speaking to everyone. We're not just speaking to Democrats. We're not just speaking to progressives. We're speaking to everyone. And that is something that we really, really have to get across to the people. At the federal level, there's a lot that we can do for education. Those mandates that all the schools have to meet, that came from the federal government. It was a burden put on the school district, and it was a burden put on the state. And the federal government doesn't fund those. If we aren't funding what we promised we would fund, how are the individual states supposed to fund what they promised to fund? And how are these school districts supposed to survive without raising taxes? Medicare, huge issue. We have guardianship abuse, nursing home abuse, elder abuse. The disability community is being abused by these laws. No one at any level is doing anything to address it. We hold a hearing, we give a pat on the back, thank people for coming and speaking, and then it disappears for another 2 years. We have to stop electing the same politicians and expecting different results. We need to start electing public servants, because public servants work for the good of all people, not just the political party. So my final words, that's what I've been preaching now for 3 years. So thank you again for having me on. Happy anniversary.
No, thank you for
Vito. Eventually I'll get to see you in person again, I'm sure. Same with you, Fern.
thank you for taking the time to call in. This is what the program's here for. It is one of the reasons that we began it, is to give the underserved a place. Because I've made the joke before that no one knows how to stretch a dollar like a Democratic candidate for office, and nobody struggles with recognition than a Democratic candidate for office, especially in deeper red areas. But it's all part of the conversation. Let me reiterate, by the way, as well, and I have invited scores of them. Any Republican candidate for office is welcome here. It's not to say that we're going to agree on much, but you will be respected and listened and heard out. And you're darn right I'll push back if I think you're lying, or if you flat out are lying. And we'll disagree.
Totally try and hold it.
Darn right we'll disagree, but you'll be respected. You'll be heard. You won't be name called. We won't scream at each other. And at the end of it, hope we leave each other better friends than when we started. but any Republican candidate is welcome here. They just don't come. And to me, that says something. It certainly doesn't say anything about me. I'm not that smart. But if you believe so darn strongly in these positions, then you should be able to come to places like this and much bigger places and defend them.
Well, Jeff, you answered why they won't show up. You've been answering it for at least 2 years. They don't have a plan for anything that matters to the people. They have not had a plan. They are no longer a party.
I
They
firmly
don't
believe
know
it.
how
It's
to
a
come on your show
corporation.
and talk because they don't know what to talk about.
It's a corporation. It just is. It meets all the definitions of a corporation. It's true. Honestly, it's anyway. I will let you go. Thank you. I'll open up the phone line. You're kind to call and share some time.
My pleasure.
All right. Take care of
Talk to you
yourself
later.
until next time.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. 7:30. I am desperately overdue for a reset. This is the Kennedy Effect live for the 16th of April, 2023, celebrating our 4th anniversary. At the same time, thanking all of you so very, very much for being there and asking the question, are we accomplishing anything with this program? Wherever you might be across Facebook, we've shared the program to well over 100 places, and I see in the notifications that several others of you have shared the program. We are deeply, deeply grateful. It's how we grow. It's how we meet new people, how we make new guests, how we make new friends, how we have better conversations. Stay anywhere that you might be watching the program. I will do my level best to see if you leave any comments or questions and get them addressed. However, I invite you to come over to our home group Facebook page. It's right there on the screen. George has been kind enough to join us. I thought he might, but I wasn't sure. Because again, George and Lynn do more for their families than you can ever imagine. And tonight was a family night, and he still made some time to come in with us, which I'm deeply, deeply grateful for, to he and Lynn for that matter. And so you see it right there. Our home group Facebook page is that other side of information. To our sisters and brothers and friends and family at hot101.net. Our name is our web address. There's no device that connects to the internet where you can't listen to us. Any type of computer, any type of tablet, phone, desktop, laptop, you can Bluetooth us into speakers, headphones, Bluetooth it into your car. The Apple App Store for Apple devices, Google Play Store for Android, and the TuneIn radio app for all other types of devices, and TCP, the TCP Media Group from Lancaster, all part of the Kennedy Effect family. 3 legs of the stool that keeps us upright, if you will. Pleased, humbled to be part of all of these groups and all of these families. So again, not just celebrating our 4 years, but saying thank you to all of you. Let me again remind you now that we are into our 3rd hour. I think we'll at least make it till 8 o'clock. I don't know how much further we're going beyond that. I'm pretty sure the Villain's View returns this week. I think it does at 9 p.m. It will be here on that other side of information and on hot101.net. I'm pretty certain they are returning this week. I know Sergeant Max said they were taking 2 weeks off, but that was 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. I think they might be returning tonight. I think I have that right. I'm not 100% on that. George might know better than me, but I think they're returning tonight. We will at least make it to 8 o'clock. If we go past that, then so be it. I don't know that we'll go all the way till 9, but I think we're going to get past the 8 o'clock mark. If you missed any of this program or tonight's program or any of our programs, I humbly direct you toward our YouTube channel, which is also called That Other Side of Information. After this program wraps up, George will work his digital magic, perhaps tomorrow, Tuesday, usually by Wednesday. The program is on our YouTube channel, and you can always watch it there, watch it in pieces, watch it over again, whatever it is that you choose to do with it. Try that. Our YouTube channel really is our library. It's our repository of all of our past episodes. Check us out there. You can from the very first one to this one. Now, I knew this call was coming. And I'm so glad that this gentleman worked up the courage to finally call us, because he's so shy. And because he's so shy and so quiet. I'm very glad that he worked up the courage to call us. And that, of course, is America's favorite hippie, Randall from Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Welcome to the program, Randall.
Hey, congratulations on making it the 4th anniversary, Jeff.
Yeah, well, you weren't here for all 4 years, were you? Yeah, you
No,
hippie.
I've only been here for 2 years.
It only feels like 4.
It's been just a wonderful. I still can't remember how by chance I caught the first program I saw with you.
It was weird. I think it was just weird happenstance. Weren't you just poking around Facebook one night and happened to find us? I think it was really that simple, wasn't it? I mean, you were literally just, like checking. I almost said a word that I usually don't say. Checking stuff out on Facebook and just kind of found us. Wasn't it that simple? Am I right? I think it was that simple, wasn't it?
Right, you're right, Jeff. It was that simple. And I'm glad that over the 2 years I've been following you, that I've been able to bring some of my friends to join your Facebook page. And I'm glad that one of my close friends from college, Kevin Fredericks, been on your program twice. And by the way, he's not here because he is in Africa teaching for a month.
Well, I found out because I reached out to him to ask him to, pop in, and he told me he was in Africa. I also sent him an article earlier in the week that I was curious about his thoughts. I don't want to get into that right this second, but yes, he is. He's in Africa.
Because I had reached out and left him a telephone message a number of days ago, and he'd gotten back reply message that he was in Africa, and so it wasn't advantageous because of time difference and stuff.
Right. Yeah, which is significant from there. But and probably also, to be honest, the connection.
Well, I'm sure it's sketchy.
Yeah.
It's Africa. And
well, let me just ask you quickly, because I'm gonna try to keep I haven't been doing a good job of it, but when people are kind enough to call, I usually give them I almost swore again. Why am I trying? My brain is trying to make me swear, and I don't want to do it. I want to ask you.
You want to do that dirty hippie Randall.
Yes, right. I want to ask you a question though. As I mentioned, you've been listening. There's kind of a 3-prong theme to the evening. We are celebrating. I am thanking everybody profusely. Of course, you, because especially for coming across us the way you did, which is practically accidental, and to stick with it and become such a supporter is it means the world to me. I know I've said that to you, but I'm saying it again, and I hope you believe it, because it does. It means the absolute world to me, because I'm not special, truly not. But I do want to ask you, are we getting anywhere here? Are we accomplishing anything? Are we doing good? Are we making a difference? You're such a dedicated person to the program. We talk during the week, Randall and I, occasionally, even if just by message, if not like vocally chat, we stay in contact off air. So as somebody who's as dedicated to this program as you are, which I'm blessed for, and I don't know that I deserve it by any means, are we getting anywhere? Are we accomplishing anything?
I think we are, Jeff, because what was that FDR said about waking the giant after we were bombed at Pearl Harbor?
Actually, I don't think
Japanese
it wasn't Roosevelt, if I remember correctly, and Franz will probably text it to me if I'm wrong. It was Rommel, if I remember correctly, who said that that a sleeping giant had been awoken. And I probably have that. I probably butchered that quote, but I'm pretty sure it was one of the German generals. I think it might have been Rommel himself.
Well, if it was any of the German generals, it would have been wrong.
Yeah.
Remember, he was in on the assassination plot and took poison to protect his family. You know, from them being murdered by Hitler. So I'm sure it was Rommel. If it was. In any case, the bottom line is, there's a sleeping giant that is awakening, and there's two parts to that. One's demographics, and one is supporting common sense legislation. The common sense legislation is the 30+% of voters in this country who are independent, who have no allegiance to either the Democrats or the Republicans. And the demographics is my daughters, their husbands, their friends, my friends, generation, the gens, and then you've got the new generation, Gen Z, and this is why the Republicans is so critical for them to try and control the education, to try and destroy public education, because public education has always been the great equalizer in this country of classes, of people, and they don't want that. That means they're not going to support Republican agendas, Republican legislation, when you know they're racist and they're anti-Semitic and they're white, evangelistic Christians who believe in white supremacy. No. I'm one of the, I'm one of my generation, 70+, that throws myself in with it, being a super progressive and a liberal, my whole life, and therefore being involved in democratic politics locally my whole life. Well, since I got the vote in 72,
Right.
When I was 20 years old. But in any case, I think you're doing some good, Jeff.
I hope so.
And I keep trying to spread the word, and I get a few new members, people that listen. Probably don't listen live because it's Sunday. It is Sunday. I couldn't, I was listening, but we were like my youngest daughter and my second granddaughter, who's a month old. They're moving next weekend. Her husband's already in Wilmington, North Carolina, start his job. Well, she's got to go back to work next Monday, a week from tomorrow. She's lucky that she has a job. She can totally do it over computer. And that all goes back, obviously, to the pandemic.
Right.
And I got one son-in-law, the same thing. He's in IT. He strictly works from home Monday to Friday. And I look at my work life. Commuting a half an hour one way, half an hour home, or 45 minutes one way, 45 minutes home. No, that was not fun. That was not fun at all. So things are changing.
It's good to hear that you feel that way. It's good to hear a little bit of optimism. It's nice of you to say. And I mean, all I can do is thank you enough for stumbling upon us and for being a great cheerleader for us. I mean, that's all I can say. And one of these days you're going to come to a state meeting and I'm actually going to see you in person, or something like that, or you'll find me a speaking engagement somewhere in Delaware County and I'll come down and talk to folks in person. But you mean the world to me, and it's folks like you who listen. And it doesn't have to be every single week, and it doesn't have to be every single minute of it, but that listen, that have given us a chance. That's the big thing, that gave us a chance. Who the hell is this guy from this place that we never heard of and who's just sort of soaking up airwaves and so on? It's folks like you that gave us a chance, and then that turned and then decided to spread the word after giving us that chance. It's why we're here. And I'm glad that you think we're accomplishing something, because sometimes I'm not sure.
It's frustrating at times,
Yeah,
I
it
know.
sure does. Well, thank you,
I'm
my
not-
friend. I want to get back to folks, and I want to leave the line open again, but I know that I'll talk to you soon. And even this, look how lucky we got with our anniversary here. We made a brand new connection there with Miss Mkhitaryan, and we'll be planning a new show on that. And we're going to be dedicating a lot of shows coming up as well, folks, before the Pennsylvania primary, which is May 16, as well as into the general election, focusing, as we did in 2021, on the deep importance and significance of local and county elections in these odd year elections. There are no odd years, but in these, what's that?
And school board election.
Oh, that's what I mean. These local elections, these county, local, and school board elections, deep significance and importance of them. And we're going to spend a lot of time on that. But thanks, my friend. You're the best. Stay healthy. Gosh darn it. Stay healthy.
Thank you. God bless and say hi to Kristen.
I will. Take care of yourself.
All right. Bye-bye.
It's a really special guy, but
He's a good.
Fern, you wanted to make sure that we didn't miss something about schools that you didn't get to mention before. So let's do that. And
Speaking
again, folks, the phone line's now open again, 267-227-9189. It's on your screen. It's on George's box. It's on my box if you can't see it. 267-227-9189. But Fern, you had a point that you wanted to make about the schools.
Yes, I did. So while speaking of accomplishing things and our school districts and our school boards, which you can bug them about this, I have dragged Vito into this, and I'm sorry. And
Something
but
tells me you didn't have to drag him in.
no, not today. Very easy. He's very lightweight when he wants to do something to drag him in, but I know he's got to go before I do, so I'm going to let him talk first. Not let him, but you do the thing.
Yeah.
Need my permission.
Nobody puts Vito in a corner.
That's right.
If Fern wants to, she's more than welcome to at any given time. And I do want to give Fern all of the thanks in the world. She one night a few months ago, sitting not doing much, texted me about, hey, this group is looking for a teacher's opinion on school lunch debt and universal meals. And I was more than happy to jump on a Zoom, just like something like tonight, and got started with a group called the Debt Collective, whose goal right now is to cancel student lunch debt in Pennsylvania, which tops $15 million in the state of Pennsylvania alone. There's 87,000 kids that incur student meal debt, that carry that shame of meal debt with them each day. These are kids that don't qualify for free and reduced lunch. These are the kids whose parents make just a little bit too much, or they didn't fill the paperwork out the right way, or mom or dad just lost their job. These 87,000 kids carry on average of $170 each in meal debt. And the group known as Debt Collective that we're working with, that we're helping push, SB 180, which Fern could talk a lot more about because her legislative updates are second to none. But basically, this group is pushing in Pennsylvania to cancel student lunch debt and provide universal school meals for each kid, both breakfast and lunch, just like they did in Minnesota and New Mexico. And we've got a lot of momentum behind us. We just had a piece on Soledad O'Brien's Matter of Fact show, not to plug another show on your show, Jeff, but go check that out. Go check that out. We're here to try to push that through. It would cost less than 1% of the proposed budget of Governor Josh Shapiro, and with the legislative house that is so tight, and we see this as something that is possible of getting done either as a standalone bill or something in the budget, which Fern will get more in depth on, I'm sure, because again, legislative guru. But please check us out at PA Lunch Debt. And if you ever want to tell your story about lunch debt, I was recently at my House of Delegates for PSCA just yesterday, and I told the same story. I told the same spiel there, and so many teachers, support staff came to me and said, "Listen, there's a kid I know in school. You know, we put $20 a week in their lunch account because they just don't have it, and nobody knows about it." Or a teacher who talked about when they were a student in school, they received free lunches and they got a little red ticket. And the first day they got the little red ticket in high school, they went and got their lunch and their friends started making fun of them. You know what they did for the next 179 days? They didn't eat lunch because they felt the shame. They felt the embarrassment of having that. And for 2 years during the pandemic, when Congress fully funded school meals for our kids, we didn't have to worry about that stigma. We didn't have to worry about that shame. We saw kids that were being fed. And I, as a teacher, know the means that cafeteria workers and support staff bent over backwards to ensure kids got a meal, whether that was cooking a hot meal, packing it up, and then delivering it, having a lunch line, and parents driving through and giving them food. And when that faucet turned off this school year, parents were in shock. A lot of them were upset, and kids were as well. Because now the worry, the shame, the anxiety has risen to the surface once again. And we're trying to make sure that this stays at the forefront until we could meet that goal of universal school meals and the cancellation of student lunch debt. Jeff, congratulations, man.
Before you run, Vito, let
Yeah.
me ask you a very quick question, because I know the answer is a very short one. How many other countries on earth, especially the OECD supposed quote unquote first world countries, have a student lunch debt problem? Zero. Exactly what I thought. And it's exactly why I asked the question, by the way. None.
It's a
We're
very
the
specific American
The only
problem.
country that's monetized feeding children to keep them alive.
It's a travesty. And if the legislator had the same push to feed children as they did lower the net business tax, this would be something that would have been done years ago. But you know,
I know even this governor is willing to continue to cut the corporate tax, but we have a $15 million student lunch debt problem.
Yeah.
And not to mention the $6 billion, $4 billion we give the fossil fuel industry every year.
And the
$600 million we give to the horse
racing.
racing industry.
It's all of those student meal debt to pay for universal breakfast and lunch cost less than all of those giveaways. It's about $300 million a year. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of the budget, it's less than 1% of this total budget. And if we're not prioritizing hungry kids, Jeff, if we're not doing that, then what's the point, right?
Exactly.
But I'm gonna listen to Fern here. I got to run, man. Congratulations on the anniversary. I can't wait to be back on. Keep up the good work, man. You're making a difference. I know it. I feel it. I see it. God bless. Go get it.
Well, when the next campaign starts, come back and see us.
Hey, listen, we're always campaigning. You talk about those municipal elections. Fern and I
That's
up here
true.
in northeastern Pennsylvania, we're not being gatekeepers, man. We're trying to help everybody we can and get everybody elected because it's important.
Thank you for taking the time. It's so kind of you and so selfless, and I'm very, very grateful, truly. That's Vito Molicari. Fern, so talk to me about this student lunch debt. I would say a problem, but it's a problem for the kids carrying the debt, not for the districts of the state to collect the money. It's the kids' problem.
It does become their problem. Depending on which school district you're talking about, some of them they withhold your diploma if you don't have this lunch debt paid. Some of them, even though there was a bill a couple of years ago passed that they couldn't do what I call lunch shaming, where if you don't have the money for lunch or you didn't bring your lunch, you would have to get something that was different than everybody else that was getting. Back in my day, it was peanut butter and jelly. I don't know what it is now. Now they can't do that until the lunch debt is at least $75, but I know that one of our local school district does it at 10. So, laws are only as good as their enforcement, and this one is not really enforced, and this one is a terrible one.
So we do have districts in the Commonwealth, and I know for a fact, I think most of us know for a fact that throughout the country this happens. But we do have districts in the Commonwealth that will deny breakfast and or lunch if your debt passes a certain monetary level.
Yep.
So you
And
don't eat that day.
And some of them, like Vito had mentioned, they just don't eat. Some of them, they want to save their family money. And there's all kinds of reasons, but all of them are not good enough to justify kids not eating. All of them, every kid should eat. And I would ask why our taxes are not paying for these already.
Because they're paying for, because again, 4 billion of it is going to the fossil fuel industry, 600 million is going to the horse racing industry.
Our school taxes are pretty high here in Pennsylvania. And I know it does vary depending on where you live, but if they're that high and they're a big problem because we're always mentioning them every single election, we always hear about the school taxes. If they're so high, why aren't we feeding our kids? And I don't even understand why this is an issue at all, but somehow it is. No such thing as a free lunch. Well, no, there's not, but look who's paying the price. It's our kids. Why are we punishing our kids? I know, having Vito attend these meetings, I have learned that, kids, the attendance in schools have improved. Their attitudes have improved. Their focus has improved. And you don't have kids that are hangry.
Their performance is, they
Yes.
simply perform better when they're not hungry, period.
Now, as a parent, as you know, I have twin boys. One of them does go to a special needs school. He is autistic. I have to pack his lunch. The other one is on the free lunch program. So I have the unique perspective of both. It takes a vast amount of time for me to do the shopping and pack the lunches. And I need the fridge space and the freezer space. And I have to not only find something that he will eat with his sensory issues, which I know not all parents have, but I have to find something that is going to be safe by the time he has lunch. And, the FDA or USDA, I'm sorry, I can't remember which one, maybe both. We'll just say both because it doesn't really matter. Anything that is not going to be eaten, any perishable things not eaten within 2 hours should be stored at 40 degrees or less.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about everybody else, except that I do. When I send my kid off to school in the morning, lunch is more than 2 hours away from then. So, we have all of these extra challenges as parents who do pack lunch if we don't have the money to send them. Now, my son cannot purchase a lunch there. They don't have that. And, I know that there is a question of whether or not adhering to their sensitivities is a reasonable accommodation. I can speak for my son. One day he just won't like what he has. He'll eat the same thing every day and demand nothing else every day for 3 months. And then all of a sudden I hate it. I'll never eat it again. That's a lot to put on the school. So I choose not to, and I pack it. I have no problem with that. But just because I do that, I understand how much extra money it takes, how much extra time it takes, and everything else that goes into it. So, I love the argument of if they make more money, they need to pay for it. Well, now we're making them spend even more money and we're making them put even more work into it. And they're paying usually more taxes because their properties, when you work more, are generally higher, et cetera, et cetera. It all trickles down from nowhere. Now, this bill, it will eliminate the current student debt, but what it will do also, more importantly, is it'll create a fund similar to the federal reimbursement fund. So it'll cover the children who are not covered. It'll make up the difference between the reduced lunch payments, and then it'll also cover the remainder of the students who get them. So we're not getting rid of the federal reimbursement program. We are just going to supplement it should we pass this bill. And I think that we should. Like Vito mentioned a couple of times, it is less than 1% of the budget. When you break it down to the number of students, it's literally a couple of cents per day per student, and that covers both meals. So that is something that we have been pushing. It's SB 180. I put it in the Facebook live chat, and I have been urging everybody to contact their state senators to support the bill, and also been urging them to contact their state House reps, because if the bill passes in the Senate, it's going to need to pass in the House. So, kind of get them on board with it, or get them to even someone write one of their own, which I am working on that. Not with my state rep, he doesn't answer the phone, but others, I happen to know some people. If you don't know who your rep is, in the same message that I dropped the text of the bill in, just click that link and there's a find your legislator. Just pop your information in, and whoever represents you will appear there. Their phone numbers are there. please contact them and ask them to support these bills. I know right now, in addition to this, and what is more likely to happen this year is us getting it put into this year's budget, which would be great because then it'll at least be covered for the year. The problem with that is it's not law. So because it's covered this year, if we do get it passed within the budget, which I know he has in Shapiro for breakfast, we want both. It doesn't stay that way. There's no guarantee that it'll be in next year's budget. So that's where we're at with it. I'm sorry, I know I'm speaking quickly, but I also know that you were kind of 8 o'clock and it's 7:59.
Yeah, we're gonna probably, but I do want to ask you, I mean, George and I are gonna chat for a little bit toward the end here, but what's next for you? You've run for office before. We're in an odd year again. I like to, it sounds, a little cliche-ish and kind of goofy a little, I guess, but there are no off year elections. There are years that have elections that end in odd digits. So 2023 is an odd number, but there are no off years. So you've been a candidate before. Another even year obviously is coming up next year. What's next for you? I know that you're doing all of this too, but I mean, what's next for you? What are you thinking of next?
It never ends. First, I should probably update you that healthcare bill that I have been advocating for a decade, it passed. So the Lymphedema Treatment Act has passed, and I kind of felt like Wile E. Coyote after he caught the Roadrunner for a while. At the very end, he holds up that sign like, you guys wanted me to catch him, now what? So I have been working on the lunch debt thing. I am working with the candidates for county council here in Luzerne County. There are 6 openings. There are 7 candidates. So I'm trying to help everyone the best I can, and then I will be out canvassing for them. And then there's some city council for Wilkes-Barre, where I don't live, candidates that were also backing people that helped me with my election. So it's only fair that I help theirs, which I would be doing anyway. For those of you who have been paying attention to the Papergate scandal, we had that really awful House committee session. You look confused there for a second. Are you not familiar with this?
I don't think I actually am, which is strange having Kristen in this house. I'm not familiar with something, but
Luzerne County had a paper disaster on our last election. We had national news.
oh yeah. That yes.
The House Committee, United States House Committee.
Yep.
Or they have a special committee now to review it. And of course, we have an ongoing investigation. So nobody from the county that works for the county is involved actually showed up at the request of our solicitor and our district attorney, and they're turning that into a whole thing. It's a bit of a nightmare. And they mishandled it. But I mean, our county council is 11 members, 10 of them are Republicans. It's what happens when you put them in charge. Things go bad. So I am working to help flip that.
It is an old Republican playbook. Break the system, bitch that it's broken, and then say you need to privatize it.
Yeah, and they don't know what they're doing.
But keep us in office.
I agree with this because I know that a lot of them are smart and they know exactly what they're doing.
Yep.
Look into some of these people because a number of them on our council legit do not know what they are doing. And it's a very, very scary thing. There are 6 seats open. The lone Democrat we have, there are term limits on our council, and he's maxed out. So we have 6 openings. We're going to have 6 candidates. I don't know who they are because we have 7 currently for the primary. And we're going to work as hard as we can to fill as many of those seats as we can. So that is what I am doing right now. So I also, since the last time we spoke, I am with NEPA Stands Up. I co-chair their electoral board. So I have been working with them as well to get candidates elected. We do like to focus on these so-called smaller races because the smaller they are, the sooner they hit you. I don't need to tell you that, and anybody listening, I'm sure I don't need to tell them that either, but it's important to just keep repeating it, get the word out, because a lot of our problems, especially as Democrats, are lack of voter turnout. Like even in my district, they'll tell you it's very red because it is, but it's not red because we don't have the registration. The Democrats in my district actually are more than the Republicans, but as far as who comes out to vote, not so much with my party. So, that I'm working on too. And I will be out in my district helping with county council because it is more rural, but I mean, I live here. I know these people, they're my neighbors. And I think a lot of the problem is that nobody ever comes out to talk to them because we are rural, because you do need to drive to canvass this area. And my district is weird because it's like suburban urban. There are city parts where there is huge sections that are densely populated with residential areas. But we also have those where you need to drive. You're passing a lot of farms. You're going up driveways that are a mile long just to knock on a door for someone who might not be home. But that's the work you put in. That's what you have to do. That's why there hasn't been a Democrat representing this district in, oh, it'll be 10 years by the time this next session is over. It's even more for where I live because we got mapped into the 120th. The 117, I'm not really sure the last time that was there. I know that in my municipality, Dallas Township and Franklin Township, which also got moved into the 120, I'm the first Democratic candidate we ever had the option for since I moved here. There was never a Democrat on the ballot for state house the entire time that I lived here until I was on it. So
Well, it kind of goes back to something I think Nick mentioned it before he had to leave, that we the US House, especially, not even Congress as a whole, because the Senate has a higher approval rating, but the US House is like a 17% approval rating. But each individual member, but the re-election rate in the House, I think even at a low point, is like 92%, because most folks, when they are polled, yeah, Congress sucks, but not my guy or my woman. And this then just keeps perpetuating itself and doesn't solve anything. And it's not different. It's not different on a state level. Most folks in Pennsylvania don't like the legislature either, but will tell you that their representative's fantastic. Well, who do you think makes up the legislature? We didn't get there by accident.
I mean, we had 47 Republican incumbents run unopposed. 47. And see, the biggest thing that I think that people miss or maybe just don't think about with that is that when you consistently don't have an opponent, you don't have a reason to serve your constituents. And that's when you get the reason to serve your donors. You got to be self-serving. And if you're going to serve yourself, then who do you need to serve? You need to serve your donors. And, that's how authoritarianism kind of creeps in there, because your seat's not going to be challenged. If you are in danger of losing your seat every single time, that gives you incentive to actually serve your district. That is why you should run somebody every time. I mean, at the very least, you're having that guy, and I know I mentioned this a little bit earlier, you're having whoever it is spend their resources, drop all of their money into this district, drop all of their volunteers into this district, instead of funding somebody else's race, increasing their majority, and we're giving them a big head start. Like ours, it's 102 that we need, and we give them 47 to start with. Why?
Yeah, we give them a head start.
The
And
longer,
it's a hell of a head start too. I mean, it's a damn near 50% head start.
the longer you go without a candidate, the harder it is to run somebody. And then,
Right.
there's not a really big support system for candidates who are going to run in red areas. So, you do it, there's no money, there's no support, and now it's become hostile. Like Vito mentioned earlier, there are the death threats. I've had people who were afraid to put signs in their yard. I have had death threats. My kids are bullied at school because I ran for office as a Democrat. And, those are the things that people don't talk about. And I think that of everything, that one bothers me the most, because they're kids. Why are we picking on kids? But this is the world that we live in now. But the only way that we are going to change it is get out there, do the thing, make them spend their money, close the voter turnout gap, because people feel disenfranchised and they don't want to get up and go. Like, if you're not going to put the effort into putting in a candidate, why should I put the effort into getting up and going out to vote? And our message is always get out and vote. Well, I mean, if we're not accomplishing anything at our local, state, or federal, the answer is not vote harder. The answer is you need to do something to make us get out and vote harder. And that's just kind of where I am with that.
Well, listen, you've been very kind being here tonight. And I mean that with all my heart. I really do. It's very, very kind of you to do it, especially on short notice. And it's kind of nights like this, shows like this are some of my favorites. Because I've always wanted to, not just because we're celebrating the anniversary, but because I wanted this space, if you will, this space to be a bit of a drop-in center. I love it when people show up out of nowhere. Like, I think that's kind of cool. I think it's relaxed. I think it's genuine. It's sincere. And that's what tonight turned out to be. And it's going to end up being one of my favorites. And one of my least favorite, if not the least favorite, exercise duty that I have to do with this, performing this program, putting this show on, is constantly begging for guests. So when folks just dial in and show up, and you'll remember that when I had you on, that when we said goodbye to you that night, that I told you the door was always open.
Mhm.
And so I'm thrilled that you chose to open the door again and come on in. And the relaxed nature by which we did all this, I love it when folks just drop in. I think it's just neat. Very fancy word there, very 60s. I think it's just neat, and I think it's cool, and it's going to end up being one of my favorites. So
Thank you for
I
having.
want to leave you with any final thoughts that maybe you might have, and then
Yes.
and
Besides,
just know that it meant a lot, that it means, I shouldn't say meant like it's over with, but it means a lot when you listen, that you pay attention to us, that you share, spread the word, share the word, and that you've been willing to come back and visit us, again and again. It means a lot. It truly does.
I always appreciate you having me on. Aside from contact your state legislators and say, we demand you feed our kids at school, I would like to take the time to thank you for doing all that you do, because it takes a lot of time and effort to run a show like this. I know that it is not your main gig, so second job territory.
We wish.
More than one. So I know what that's like to have more than one. So, it's not one-sided here. We are grateful to have you here as well. We don't have, like Amanda said, a lot of outlets to kind of get on our platform. So that is appreciated. But even on days that I'm not on, I do listen. I'm logged in. I'm not always sitting at my computer, but I do like to tune in and listen. We don't get to hear a lot of it. We don't get anywhere else. Like when you tune into cable news, it's opinion about the news. We know that. So to hear from people on the ground about things that are important to them in a setting like yours, there's no price that you can put on it. It's invaluable. So thank you for doing everything that you do. And that's why earlier when you kind of said it's unbelievable that it's 4 years, my response was no, it's not unbelievable, because we don't have enough of this. And we as listeners know that. And we appreciate you as much, if not more, than you appreciate us. So thank you.
Well, let's keep it going. I hope that you'll come back and see us again, as always. What you get, like I said, you got the keys to the door, and just come back and see us again. And it's really exciting that we'll be able to talk about have at least one more show, if not several, focusing, that we connected with Moms for Liberty, to stop Moms for Liberty. I almost said well, you know what? They're welcome here too. I've invited folks from the Commonwealth Foundation, and I had a very, very nice woman who's a very highly paid person for them. And she said, of course I'll come on. And she listened for a good long time. And I haven't seen her recently. My guess would be is that she shared that plan with someone there and it got shut down, because she doesn't answer any of my correspondence anymore. I hope I'm wrong. I really honestly hope I'm wrong, because we found ourselves commenting on a couple of the same posts with very diametrically opposed opinions, as you would assume, but always exceptionally polite and respectful. And I think that's the minimum that we can do. So I said, why don't you come on the show and we'll talk for 4 hours? You tell me why you think the Commonwealth Foundation's right about everything, and I'll tell you why you're not. But we'll do it politely. We'll do it respectfully. We'll be friends when we start. We'll be better friends when we're done. And she agreed. We simply never found a date. And now she doesn't answer any correspondence. And I find that's bothersome. At a minimum, it's bothersome, because we should be able to talk to each other. But again, thank you very, very, very much. I genuinely appreciate it. Truly, truly, I do. And I can't wait to see you somewhere in person one of these days. It seems like we don't see each other. We don't see people in person enough, even in a relatively post-pandemic world. I know people are still sick. And all the meetings that I do go to, it seems like we still don't see each other enough, but I look forward to that opportunity or until the next time that I do see you. Thank you, honestly, most sincerely, and come back again.
Absolutely. Thanks again for
Have
having
a
us.
great night.
You too, dear. Bye-bye.
I want to correct something that I said before. I knew Franz would correct me, and then actually so did Chuck. It was Admiral Yamamoto who said that. Wait, Chuck put it in the, or George Googled it, found it. So George, Franz, and Chuck all got me, correcting me, which is cool because I want to get things right. That it was Japanese Admiral Yamamoto who actually planned the attack on Pearl Harbor, who wrote in his private diary, quote, and I think the quote is exact. George Googled it, I'm probably sure, or whatever search engine he used. I'm sure it's probably spot on, but I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve. And that Admiral turned out to be spot on, taking his own flagship and his own life during the course of that war. But that said, George is right. He also brought up something else. And George is still there. So I'm going to ask George not to turn his mic on, if you can. You are right. I guess one way to look at it is that we must be accomplishing something, because they did have that one quote unquote gentleman threaten to firebomb my house, kill Kristen, kill the cats. I think we had the dog, or maybe we didn't have Daisy at that point.
No, you didn't.
But bomb my house, burn it to the ground, kill me, kill Kristen, kill the cats. So yeah, I mean, we got to somebody, didn't we? If that's the measure of success. I don't know. I don't know if that's exactly the measure of success, but I mean, in this current
Sorry about that. No, that was a
in this current climate,
yes. In this current
in this
climate,
current political climate, to be fair, that might actually be a bit of a marker, bit of a milepost, if you will.
It actually means that people are listening. People are listening to a show. You don't think it, that they're listening, but they're listening. They're listening in quiet. How should I say?
In the dark corners.
Yes. 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 Yeah.
They're sneaking us like,
in the dark corners of the Bat Cave, they are actually
like
listening.
They're sneaking us like the French Resistance. The printing leaflets in the basements of buildings and things like that. Yeah.
The one question I had, because like you're saying that there are little pockets of fascism, with it, coming up.
Well, they're not. They're not.
Well, is it? Was it the question I wanted to put it? Was it? Is it that they totally want fascism, or do they want the idea of it? Because they will lose all their civil liberties.
Yeah, but they won't. They're rich. In a fascist dictatorship, the rich always do best.
True.
Remember what Mussolini's own definition of fascism is and was? The merger of corporate and state interests. There's actually two definitions. The secondary definition being the unbridled use of governmental power to further corporate aims. When Mussolini dissolved the Italian parliament, he took whoever the richest person or whoever the owner of the largest business was in each of the parliamentary districts, I tried to say, and made them the parliament. So what motivation did they have as a governing body? To enrich themselves.
Yeah.
I've said this too many times on the program now, and it's actually almost distressing how many people hear it and agree. the billionaire class of this country, and I would begin to make the argument that the billionaire class of this planet, I'm so stuffed up, allergies today, have made a very conscious decision. I know Bernie Sanders has said this, that unless you can work, therefore generating income for that billionaire class, or unless you have some form of wealth that they can take from you, when both of those circumstances are gone, you can no longer work, you have nothing left to be extracted, go die. Just go die. Just, we're done with you. You don't count anymore. You don't matter. And think about some of these other things with these so-called quote unquote illegal immigrants coming across the border for work. They can't generate any wealth, but they can have wealth extracted from, well, they can actually generate wealth, and they can do it at a much lower price.
Right.
The states benefiting the most from the CHIPS Act and the infrastructure bill are red states. Now, why are these chip factories growing in the South? Because they're non-union. They're right to work states, right to work for less. So not only is the federal government plowing all this money into bringing chip production back onshore, which is exceptionally important and needed, these companies have still found a way to monetize it beyond words. No unions. Hell, some of these states will now let kids do the work. And the government paid for damn near all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where we are until we do something different. Until we ask ourselves in the mirror, or listening to the radio, or listening to us, or watching Fox or MSNBC or Free Speech TV or any of it. My God, are we not better than this? Is this all we are? Is this all the United States has reduced itself to? Being either wealth generators or wealth extractors. There's nothing in between. Can't afford to eat, starve. Can't see a doctor, die. Uneducated, work for pennies. Or I should say, can't afford an education, work for pennies. God, you're talking about medieval Europe at this point, between or the South, or the fascist South before the Civil War. You're talking about sharecroppers. You're talking about, the landed gentry versus the serfs. Again, it's not. Republicans don't want to go back to the 1950s. They're going back to the 1850s. And hell, I would say that there's a group of them that want to go back to the 1450s,
Maybe
1650s.
the Bronze Age.
Yeah, you people, even before Gutenberg. You live on my land, you farm for me. Of course, I take all the food and all the riches from it. Oh, and then when I need you to fight, I'll put a sword in your hand.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's kind of what we're talking about here. This
Was
is
it what-
this class of people. Again, folks, we had about there's about 660 billionaires in the United States, and about 2,500 of them worldwide before the global economic shutdown that occurred during COVID. Coming out of this, again, let's be blunt. Let's remember the truth of what happened. And by the way, the economic closure, the literal closure of the American economy, happened with Trump in the White House at his and that administration's direction and guidance. dare I say, guidance. And it's
I
spread
think the
around
compass had a magnet on it.
and it's spread around the globe. We came out of that where the economy was largely non-functional. There's now 750 roughly billionaires in this country. Pennsylvania added 4 of them alone. And there's over 4,000 billionaires worldwide. How do you create new billionaires when the global economy is essentially closed for business? But we managed to do it because they've become expert at extraction. And because the global trend of trickle down has spread everywhere. How do you create billionaires when no one is leaving their homes to do anything? My God, think about the irony of that, the simplicity of that thought, that you have created billionaires when no one can leave their home, shop, or do any or work or do anything of the sort. And yet we created billionaires. I posted a story on the group page this week, That Other Side of Information. The largest hedge funds on the planet who speculate heavily in the food, the wheat commodity market, have increased their wealth by over $2 trillion since the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. They are driving up the cost of wheat and betting and investing speculatively because of the war. And they're now more than $2 trillion richer, while hundreds of Ukrainians and Russians slaughter each other every single day. Dear God. Is that it? Is that all we are now? Is that it? And where do the bodies keep coming from to rush to the front lines? It'll be the uneducated first. But is that all we are? Speculate on wheat during a European land war, biggest one since World War II, and we'll just make a killing, while half of Africa, which Ukraine feeds, starves. But hell, we made a couple trillion more, so who cares? And by the way, largely the people starving in Africa are people of color anyway, so what do we care? These hedge fund people have made that conscious decision that who cares if a half a continent of people of color starve to death while we fail to ship, manipulate a wheat market during a war. At least we got richer. Holy God almighty. Seriously? That's it? That's all we are now? France, I know, is still there because I can see him on the screen. I would like to ask you a question, if you would be kind enough to unmute before we say goodbye. Because I can ask you to unmute, but you won't see it because you're on a phone. So I don't know. Franz? There he is.
Can you hear me?
Well, I can now. I want to
Okay, good.
I want to ask you, while George is still here,
Shoot.
the same question that I have asked, I think, everyone tonight, or at least I've tried to remember to ask everyone. Are we doing any good? Does this program do any good? Are we getting anywhere? Are we accomplishing anything? 4 years in.
Well, I guess the answer would rely on how many people are hearing, watching. Do you have a way of knowing that?
Well, I do, but I mean, I'm just asking you generally your thoughts.
Well,
Does what we're attempting to do and or doing, we've been doing it for 4 years. I mean, do you think we're getting anywhere? You don't just listen yourself, you know other people that do. Do you think we're getting anywhere?
well, I would hesitate to say that you're making a huge impact. First of all, I don't have any idea how many people tune in. You would know better than I.
42
But I like what I like.
billion people. No, I'm kidding. I was going to say 47 billion people. No, I'm kidding. Just
I don't think there are that many people alive.
we reach about a quarter of a million people a week.
That's very good.
Around the globe, not just here in the States, but around the globe.
Well, I don't want to pour too much cold water on you. But I'll say this. I have many times in my life found books that I thought were valuable and the content of which was worth sharing with other people. And too many times in my life, I have lent books to people. They claim to have read them, and I know darn well they didn't pick up what I picked up and get the idea.
Right.
So maybe some people listen. And an old Democratic friend of mine used to say that people are hard of listening.
Yeah.
There
there is a difference between. There really is a difference between hearing and listening, isn't there?
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. So, how many of those numbers of people that you know are following, listening, seeing, watching? How big of effect you make? If nothing else, I believe you're probably reinforcing what they already believe.
And to an extent, that's unfortunate. And there is a bit of, I do think any political opinion program, there is at least there's a percentage of preaching to the choir. Yeah. Yeah.
Almost everything you say, I buy into, and I believe. I feel the same way about almost all these things. I was tempted to text you a little extra comment that what you've been saying about the Republican Party. Keep in mind, the Republican Party is the heir to the Whig Party.
Yep.
Which was the heir to the Federalist Party, which in almost every discernible way that I've ever seen matches the principles, standards, and modus operandi of British mercantilism. And I don't see a big difference between any of those descriptions from what Mussolini described as fascism. I don't see much difference. The Whigs especially. Read Alan Nevins. All they were crony capitalists. Get political power and hand the taxpayers' money to their crony buddies that are going to dredge the rivers and build the bridges, and in most cases didn't do a good job of it or at all, and ran off with the money. That's the history of the American Whigs.
There's also the one of the stories surrounding Mussolini was that his original name for fascism was corporatism. Until he realized people didn't really like that too much. So
marketing.
So he came up with the word fascism because people didn't know what fascism was. They didn't know what it was. They didn't understand it. But corporatism you can figure out pretty easily.
Yeah. Did you ever wonder why we had a symbol of a fasces on the back of our Mercury dimes for, let's see, probably about 40 years? You ever wonder about that?
Yeah. Well, no, but I know that.
Now you are wondering.
Well, now I'm gonna have to freaking look it up now. I'm gonna keep
Well,
myself way
the
deep in
symbol
lore.
of the symbol of fasces is nothing but a bundle of sticks that are stronger
Oh, yeah.
than any of the individual sticks would be. There's strength and union, in other words, or in the German, the Bund, which is loosely translated as the binding, the Bund. That's the appeal of the idea of the fasces. It's something stronger.
But yet,
And of course,
one of the principles of Thatcherism and Reaganism is that we are not that bundle. We are all the individual sticks. We are rugged individualists. We are not a society. We are not a
you
community.
raise a very interesting incongruity there.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Proud of you.
8:34, 8:35 just flipped over. Eastern Daylight
Yep.
Savings Time here on the program. We are going to wrap up our I almost said 14th. Where the hell did that come from? Our 4th anniversary program. Now remember, the Villain's View returns tonight in just under half an hour. It returns tonight. Again, just under half an hour. On our home group Facebook page, at least I hope to share it there. I know that Sergeant Mack was having some issues with his Facebook and getting it shared around. If you can't find it on our home group Facebook page, if you can't find it on his page, go to hot101.net. You can listen there. They return tonight. Their program is going to be focusing on something that we have spent a number of programs on, and that is trans rights and the war. And it is an open cultural war. And sadly, it's become a violent war on trans people and their right to exist. So he will be talking about that tonight on the return after 2-week absence of the Villain's View tonight from 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 Central, and 6 Pacific. So even though there's going to be a little bit of a gap between us and them because I'm exhausted and my back is killing me and I'm getting a headache, probably from staring into the screen, we are going to wrap up and say goodnight to you, but don't stray too far from those devices. Give yourself a break, run to the bathroom, get a glass of milk and some cookies, make some popcorn, whatever it is that you choose to do, because the Villain's View is coming your way from 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific. Sergeant Mack, I was hoping was going to join us tonight, but he is getting ready for his own program, as he should. I know that he will come back on the program, at some point, hopefully sooner than later, and we'll have a chance to catch up with him. We haven't talked in quite a while, actually. So I'm hoping that he will come back relatively soon and visit with us and tell us how everything is going. George, any last thoughts before we say goodnight, sir?
Happy anniversary, and I'm glad my pay was increased. Thank you.
Mr. Blutarski.
0.0.
Hey, look, I said at the top of the program, and I meant it, and I will say it yet again with George here and with his mic open.
Oh boy.
I could not do this without him. Nothing that we have set up here currently would be the way it is without George. And not just his technical expertise, or at least when we reconfigured this room to a full-time studio and office, his physical labor help, because that was a shit show, because between my back and everything else, that was quite a circus, us doing this. Just his friendship and his support and his kindness and his patience. He and Lynn both have been incalculable. They've been invaluable. And sometimes to a great extent, they have been very undeserved. But yet he has done that. And
I've been
continues to
patient
do
with
so.
you, and you've been patient with, and she's been patient with me. So there you
Well,
go.
yeah. Well, George has also spared me a lot of expense when the technology crashes and I say, I'm going to put a bat to this computer And he goes, well, now that wouldn't help anything.
No.
It's not, or I'm going to pick this thing up and I'm going to throw it.
When you, yeah.
And you say now in a very calm tone, well, now
Do
that's
not test the
gonna help.
aerodynamics of
Right.
this
Do not test the
computer.
aerodynamics of a laptop. It's not very good. But God knows how much money he's probably saved me along the way because I didn't bash a computer with my fist or a bat or throw it or light it on fire or something else. But it is the drop dead truth. Could not be anything more true. I couldn't do this without George. I know that there's weeks that he's not here. It makes me sad every week that he's not. But even when he is not live with us on the air, he works his technical magic all through the week, converting the show to these different formats and posting them around. He's been investigating the Twitch angle. We're going to be continuing to work with Sergeant Mac on expanding both programs. And I couldn't do it without him. And I'm so grateful for you. And I don't have enough words. Thank you. Barely seems enough.
I found your screen today, your Jumbotron that we're going to put behind you.
Did you?
It's multiple screens that
Yeah,
hook
but see,
together.
you said we couldn't do that. And
No,
now
no, no,
that you
we could
found
do
a
that.
screen.
No,
So
we could
wait,
do
did
that.
I get something right?
Yeah,
All right, let me go see if it's snowing.
I'm gonna, yeah.
You go look for
It
snow.
would actually be, whether you could actually probably do the Phil Hartman,
Palmer.
sorry, Bob Hartman thing.
Wrong
I
Hartman.
keep saying sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Totally different.
I had a brain fart there. I'm so sorry. Anyway.
Well, we also have to get you down here one of these days, the way God intended.
Yeah.
Do this thing with me here right in the
That's
studio.
true. I have to get a car first.
That's going to have to happen at some point. Well, no, actually, you're north of me. Well, the trip home would be really tough, but you're north of me, so I'm downhill from you. You could just coast.
I don't have a car. I don't even have a skateboard. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't coast. So
anyway.
All right.
Listen, I mean it with all my heart. Thank you. Because I couldn't do without you. We wouldn't be here without you.
Thank you.
We just wouldn't be. I don't know what. Maybe we'd have a show. Maybe we'd be on the air, but it wouldn't look like this. We wouldn't have this level of quality, and we wouldn't be to the different places that we are. We wouldn't be to the different platforms and mediums that we are. So
it would probably look better. So sorry.
No, when it's going to look better when I turn the camera off of this face, and then it'll look great. But let me just say, so that's our 4th anniversary. It is our intention and plan. And I always say that to leave myself just a tiny bit of wiggle room in case of illness. If I get an invitation to an event somewhere that I need to be at that conflicts with showtime, but it is our intention to return to you next week and for many, many weeks to come, because as I glance at my calendar, May 14th is Mother's Day. I can't remember, to be honest with you. I think we usually took Mother's and Father's Day off. I can't remember. But even if, do you remember, George? Don't we usually?
Yes, I believe we take those holidays off.
Yeah.
On the Sunday.
But even if we didn't, 2 weeks after that would be Memorial Day. So we plan to be with you for April 23rd, the 30th, May 7th. So 3 weeks. Nothing on Mother's Day. We'll be with you a week on the 21st. Skip Memorial Day, and then we're good straight through. The 18th is Father's Day. I guess we'll have to have a discussion about that. And the 4th of July falls in the middle of a week this year, so we won't even be skipping the 4th of July. Point is, we have a lot of successive programs coming up. Whether we have guests for them or not, we don't know. One thing that has changed with me through the course of this 4 years is that I am much less dependent on guests. I used to think if I didn't have a guest that the show was just going to be a bomb and that I even couldn't do it. But we've done a couple 4 hours straight on without any guests. And with a call here or there, we've even done a couple without a call. So I actually feel confident in my ability to carry a program without guests. I think the idea of kind of just flowing through the Facebook page and some of the articles that we posted during the week that perhaps you didn't get to see and discussing them from there has actually worked quite well. I do have plenty of people that I have contacted about being on the program, people who have agreed. We simply have to have dates, but I think the idea of not having a program because we don't have a guest for it, I think that idea may be past. I think that's a thing of the past now. So our plan is to be with you throughout the entire summer, taking, the occasional day of significance off. I know some people think that Mother's Day is a bit of a hallmark holiday, but I don't see it that way. It's much more important than that, as is Father's Day, especially for me. I don't have my father anymore. So that's our plan. So it's 8:45. Let me again say thank you and reiterate my deep honor at being part of the TCP Media Group family. So to Whitney, to Marquise, to Andrew, to Taekwon, and to everybody associated with the TCP Media Group, thank you for allowing me to be part of your family and allowing this program to be part of your endeavor and your company, if you will. You're part of the media landscape, and a very important one, by the way. You really need to check them out on Facebook. It's a very important place. They cover really important things, and they cover fun things too. They do basketball games and they cover parades and, wonderful, wonderful cultural events. You need to check them out. To DJ Lex, DJ Earl, and all of our family at hot101.net, thank you as well. You took a chance on us. I hope you think it's been worthwhile. Pretty darn sure everybody does. But I say that with some humility, that I hope that Hot 101 is as happy to have us as we are happy to have them. They are a very, very large part of what we do here. I very rarely get behind this microphone when Hot 101 cannot be part of it. We have done a couple things on Facebook and talked about a couple of really big events that needed to be addressed in that moment. That 101 could not be a part of, but I very rarely want to get behind this microphone when 101 cannot be with us. They are a very important part of this program, and we hope that we are very part of them as well. Talk about the three-legged stool a lot, Facebook, 101, and TCP, and I guess it kind of is that way. But we wouldn't be here without, I don't think we'd still be here this long without our involvement with Hot 101. To every single group, so for DJ Lex and DJ Earl and everybody at Hot 101, thank you very, very much. To every single group that allows us to be part of your space on Facebook, every individual, every public group, private group, page, you name it. Whatever little corner of the Facebook world, realm, universe, metaverse that you have, if you let us be a part of that, we are eternally grateful to you, and we will continue to ask every single show and every single show announcement that you continue to proliferate our show everywhere that you can. Every group that you're a part of that I'm not, every individual, Crazy Uncle Larry at Thanksgiving, everybody who you think would benefit or even have a mild interest, or just send it to them through messengers and say, check this out, see if you like it, see what you think. Something like that. I just hope that you'll continue to do that. We couldn't be here without you. That's just about everybody. So for Lynn and George, for Kristen, Daisy, and Guy downstairs, and of course, the single biggest thanks that I could possibly, and you save the best for last, and that's April Riddick. We would not be here without her. And I'm not just talking about that you can't have a show without listeners. There wouldn't be a show, period, if it was not for her determination, her constant encouragement, And she continues to be a force in this program, even when she's not here. I constantly talk to her about the program, about improving 101, growing this show, and we couldn't do it without her. An effort like this is not as simple as just logging into Facebook and turning on some lights and starting to talk. There really is some planning involved in it, and preparation and study and practice. And none of this would have started without her. And she, even though I've been doing this a very long time, and even though I can talk and almost never shut up, she's the one that said, you can do this on these platforms and it will be a success and people will listen. And she's been right about everything. Even times when I thought she wasn't, she always ends up being right. And so we wouldn't be here without her. So even though I have dished out an awful lot of thanks tonight, it would be, there are no greater thanks I could possibly share to you than to April Riddick, who means everything to me as a friend. And none of this would be unleashed on you were it not for her. So blame her first. That is it for our program. The Villain's View comes your way in just 10 minutes, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific. Look for him on our home group Facebook page, That Other Side of Information. Listen to the audio on hot101.net. Until next week, please take care of yourselves and each other. We will see you next week. Until then, good night and take care.